Hello, I'm Azai. Welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia. So, unlike what I previously said on the last episode, I actually refrained from eating my food yet because eating food does make me kind of sleepy. So, what I did was actually make some coffee, went to the bathroom for a quick bathroom break, and I am back once again. So this time, for sure, I can make one more episode. And after that, I will make my food. Ooh, I am hungry, but it's not at the point where I'm starving yet. So I can handle 2 more hours for this. But alright, let's continue, shall we? From what we left off previously. We were talking with Amane about how we were doing something behind her back. We were doing some different style of hobbies from the average adolescent female. I haven't really done like these multiple episodes in a single day as much anymore, and it really impresses me how much more I have to say on an episode if I were like doing the episode once, you know, like rather than doing it once a day or once in a single sitting. I actually have a lot more to say, right, during the beginning of the episode. But yeah, not much to say other than the fact that I am going to continue this and not eating my food yet. So let's continue on. Machina, a word. It seems Amane started to notice our secret games. Oh, what is that sound? I hope you guys don't hear it. Give me a second. Alright, I'm back. I hope you guys didn't hear that. There was like a buzzing sound on my earphones or headphones. I don't know what was going on. It was super weird. It was only on the left side too. I think it could have been like I'm using equalizers on my headphones, so it could have been that. It could have been the equalizer software failing or something. So I do apologize if you guys hear maybe like a tiny bit of that. But yeah, let's continue, shall we? From now on, let's play a little more stealthily. There we go. Ah, mosquitoes! Damn you! Man, I hate mosquitoes. Huh. You're really clueless, aren't you? Listen up, Machina. Playing is inherently more fun when you're doing it behind mommy's back.
Oh, なるほど。なんか全然理由になってないけど、すげえ説得力な。
Alright then. We'll begin where we left off this morning. I'll now present you with your rifle. Lowering the hefty duralumin case to the ground, I begin rolling the dials in the combination lock. 9029. The lock clicks open as I slide the last digit into place. Couldn't forget this number even if I wanted to. I swing open the lid of the case, revealing a bed of foam with a number of cutout spaces keeping various components safely in place. The barrel, the action, the magazine, an olive drop stock, and last but not least, a telescopic sight that set me back a good bit more than the body of the rifle itself. Pulling these out of the case, I quickly snap the rifle together, leaving only the magazine unattached. Taking the weapon carefully in both hands, I stand before Machina and read out the number etched on the right-hand side of the barrel. Your rifle, serial number 112035. I forcefully thrust out the rifle toward Machina's chest, and she receives it with similar vigor, repeating the serial number. This little ritual helps grind it into the thick head of new recruits that their rifle is an irreplaceable partner, while simultaneously encouraging a healthy sense of tension. You remember the dry firing practice we did this morning?
エレベーションノブの上に置いたパチンコ玉を落とさないように引き金を引くやつ?
Right, that one.
あれってすんげえ腕がだるくなるのよ。
I'm aware. Back in the old days, I had to do that until my arms were about ready to fall off. Got up to 2 separate pinballs eventually. It's another form of isometrics, you know? Need strong muscles or your barrel ends up shaking. It's not much of a factor with an air rifle like this, but when you're shooting with a real gun and live ammunition, your body tends to unconsciously brace itself against the noise and recoil, and you end up pulling the trigger much harder than you intended, sometimes badly throwing off your aim. The exercise in question is aimed specifically at preventing that problem. Alright, this time we'll start with plinking. You're free to fire at the paper target I've set up 25 meters ahead of our position. Start off by zeroing the rifle.
ゼロイン
In other words, fire test rounds and adjust your scope based on the impact. We did it this morning as well, remember? But once you've detached the sight, there's always going to be a slight shift the next time you put it back on. Also, even changes in the temperature and atmospheric humidity can shift the point of impact by a few centimeters. When you have the chance, zeroing could always be your first order of business. Good. I'll now provision your ammo. For now, you'll be using 6mm .2 biodegradable pellets, 9 rounds in total. Use the first 3 to adjust your scope, the next 3 to aim for the center, and the last 3 to confirm the shot. Also, you're going to be shooting with a bipod in a fully prone position.
せっかくお風呂入って着替えたのにまた泥んこなの
Not to worry, I brought a mat this time. I unrolled the foam mat I'd been carrying behind the rifle case on the ground, then add a self-inflating air mattress on top, flipping open the intake valve. See? Bit more comfortable than the ground, and your clothes won't get dirty.
ああ用意がいいのよさ
Not sure if this is much of a bonus, but I also brought along some camo netting I ordered online. With all this, we could pull off a full-scale ambush if we wanted to.
そうもああギリースーツなゲームの中で狙撃兵がこんなの着てたのよさすげえかっこいいこれ本物
It's a replica made for outdoor sports, but this one's pretty damn well made. You can drape it over your head, wrap it around the rifle, or both. A truly helpful purchase. I couldn't help buying one for myself while I was at it.
いいねいいねなんかこういうのワクワクしてくるのよ
Camouflage is extremely useful stuff. If you use local vegetation to obscure the outline of your body, even pros will have a hard time spotting you. The trick is to be careful when you're knotting the leaves together. Make sure none of them get flipped around, and don't use so much that it seems unnatural.
よっしゃやろう早速やろう
Huh. You really do love this stuff, don't you? Surprisingly enough, Makina has displayed a fierce interest in rifles. Probably developed an interest through bits of trivia she picked up from those video games of hers. According to the testimony of Komine Sachi, her primary playmate, Maki-chan absolutely adores those bang-bang shoot-them-up FPS games. She always shrieks, "Die, die," and cackles with joy as she plays. I am probably the outlier for people that like gaming in general. I like gaming, but I am more of a rhythm game player. I do not like any sort of FPS games. I've played them when I was in middle school, and I remember that I was super toxic when I was playing them. And I sort of like gave myself an introspection. What was wrong with me while I was doing like those FPS games back during the time when I was at the internet cafe for long periods of time after school? It wasn't very good, both mentally and I don't know, and like I guess my train of thought is basically obscure when playing those FPS games. Very hard to actually maintain a sane, a sane train of thought. I kind of prefer going things at my own pace rather than something that's like high tension like that. Not my thing. Distressed by this apparent manifestation of the virtual generation's much discussed tendency to trivialize the taking of human life, I pondered the situation at some length. Ultimately deciding that rather than ducking the issue entirely, my duty was to teach the girl just how serious pulling a trigger really is. Having reached that conclusion, I went all out and ordered her a realistic air rifle. Just as with the bicycle, my broader goal is to raise her into a responsible person. One who treats any tool possessing the ability to cause harm with the wary respect it deserves.
パパ
What's up? Tough it out. 80% of a sniper's job is enduring discomfort. Let's begin with one shot at that paper target. Stand by.
射撃よーい。よーし。
After exhaling 8/10 of the air in her lungs, Makina stops breathing altogether, holding her aim steady. I let 4 seconds tick by, then quietly issue the order she's waiting for. Fire. As soon as the words leave my mouth, there's the soft sound of an ideally muffled shot, and a round white pellet 6mm in diameter flashes past my spotter scope. Maybe a second or two after Makina pulled the trigger, the BB impacts on the edge of the paper target. Correction. Up 1 click, left 2 clicks.
アップ1、レフト2、クリア。
Second shot, prepare to fire.
射撃よーい。よーし。
Fire. The pellet, launched into a powerful backspin by the rifle's hop-up system, traces a lazy parabola through the air and strikes the target. Another miss. The wind's stronger than I thought. Let's try changing ammunition. The .25 pellets will probably do better. Remove your magazine, pull back the bolt, and stick your finger into the chamber to make sure it's empty.
指入んないぜ。
Then visual confirmation is fine. Peer into the bore from the side of the port. If you see light, we're fine.
チェンバー内、残弾なし。
Alright then. We're switching to .25 gram biodegradable pellets. Install magazine.
断層装着よーし。
If you hear some slurping noise, that's me drinking my coffee. I apologize for that. Send the first round into the chamber.
手段装填よーし。
This time, we're going to change our target based on the direction of the wind. Look to the right and up slightly, on that bench.
何あれ、紙コップ？
Your target is a cup filled with clear blue water. If you make the shot, it'll start squirting out all over the place. Good stuff, right?
うっす、絶対ぶち当てる。
Prepare to fire.
射撃よーい。よーし。
Fire. The BB hops out of the barrel like a stung cat, slapping cleanly into the paper cup 25 meters away. Hit. Well done. Fire 3 more as you are to confirm the shot.
了解。3発連続の。あれ？
What's wrong?
班長、レンジ内に人が。
Say what? I quickly swing my spotter scope to the right. Sure enough, Sakaki Yumiko is standing a few meters away from the bench, with a paperback clutched tightly to her chest, staring at the paper cup with a terrified expression. Shit, Sakaki, huh? Damn.
本を手に持ってるのよさ。きっとベンチに座って午後の読書としゃれ込もうとしていたら、突然紙コップが青い水を流し始めたからビビってんのよさ。
Makina, we're suspending practice for the moment. Safety on.
了解。安全装置よーし。
After confirming that Makina's engaged the safety properly, I double-check to make sure the bolt handle and trigger are firmly locked. Then pick up the transistor megaphone lying at my side, bring it to my mouth, and hold down the switch. Hey! Sakaki! What the hell do you think you're doing out there, woman?
ユミちゃん泣きそうな顔してキョロキョロしてる。
Christ. Well, from Sakaki's perspective, she was just innocently trying to read a book in the shade when a nearby cup abruptly sprung a leak. And just as she was cringing in surprise at the mysterious phenomenon, a disembodied voice started bellowing angrily at her from the bushes. I suppose bursting into tears wouldn't be that an unreasonable reaction.
ねえ、撃っちゃっていい？
No! I'm going to go talk to Sakaki for a minute, alright? You're on standby here. Absolutely no firing until I give it a go-ahead. You got that?
レンジャー。
Lifting myself up off the air mattress, I fling off my camouflage net. I push out of the bushes and approach our stupefied interloper with a slow but powerful gait. Hey there, Sakaki. Tell me, what is your major malfunction? Did you miss the red flags? Please explain why you wandered onto the range in the middle of a shooting session. Right now, I'm leaning toward you being an idiot. Buffeted by my best veteran drill sergeant roar, Sakaki flinches, stiffening into a defensive posture.
バカとは。
Are you blind, woman? I jab out an index finger toward the gateposts that mark the entrance to the courtyard, where 2 conspicuous red flags are gently flapping in the afternoon breeze. When the red flags are up, it means you keep out. And even outside the perimeter, sudden actions that might lead to an accident are forbidden. Just how clueless are you?
そんなこと知るわけないでしょ。あなた何をやっているの？
Like I said, shooting practice. Do your ears not work either?
射撃訓練？
Before I can respond, Makina's voice rings out through my earphone.
ねえパパ、ユミちゃんが手に持ってる方、侍の右腕って方、面白そう。読み終わったら貸してって言っておいて。
The samurai's right arm? I glance at the paperback at Sakaki's hands. It does in fact bear that title. Looking over my shoulder toward Makina's position, the distance between us seems to be a good 30 meters. She seriously read these tiny letters from over there? The scope's good, but it's not that good. Incidentally, Sakaki, Makina wants to know if you'll lend her that book when you finish reading it.
イリスさんもいるの？
Yeah, she's in the bushes over there. Can you see her?
どこにいるって？
Can't make her out, huh? I guess that's hardly surprising. I know exactly where the girl is, but it's still a struggle to pick her out. Very solid bit of camouflage work, if I do say so myself.
だいたいこんなところで射撃訓練って学園長の許可は取ってあるの？
Of course I went to her first. I'm planning to apply for the establishment of an official club eventually.
射撃部？
An air rifle club.
ああ、そう。
You seem a little nonplussed, my friend. In that case, let me provide you with a first-hand demonstration. Let's drop back a bit, alright? I want 20 meters minimum between you and that target.
別に興味ないのだけれど。
Won't take long. Come on. After confirming that Skak is withdrawn behind me, I thumbed the two-way radio PTT switch on my waist. Makina, release the safety. You have permission to fire.
撃っていいの？ユミちゃんを？
No! I'll designate your target. Aim for the first cup from the left, alright? I'll issue your timing from here.
レンジャー。
Okay, Sakaki. Watch that cup 20 meters ahead of us. I pass Sakaki a pair of binoculars, point out the cup in question, and once again hold down the PTT button for my wireless. Ready? And fire! Maybe 2 seconds after my order, a low-pitched report rings out nearby. A second later, the pellet strikes home, dead center on the leftmost cup.
あ、当たった。
Hit! Well done, Makina.
今のイリスさんが？
That's right. Pretty decent skills, don't you think?
というか、どこから撃ったの？
What? We're practically on top of her and you still haven't noticed?
え？近くにいるの？
Alright, Makina. That's enough for now. Remove the magazine. Confirm the chamber is empty. Engage the safety. And take off your camouflage.
了解。
A few seconds after the end of the transmission, as Sakaki looks around the area nervously, a clump of bushes 2 or 3 meters behind us rustle noisily. Makina slowly gets to her feet, still cloaked in her ghillie suit. Calm yourself, Sakaki. Makina, lose the camo and get that paint off.
ちょっと待ってね。
The girl throws off her camouflage net, then retrieves a wet wipe from the pouch around her waist and begins to vigorously scrub at her face.
お待たせなのよ。イリスさん、あなた一体何を？だから射撃訓練だっつってんだろ。どうよ、ビビった？そりゃ背後で急に草の塊が起き上がったら誰だって驚くわよ。もうそうじゃなくてな、射撃の腕に驚いて欲しかったんだけどな。ええ、それはもちろん驚いたけれど。なるほど、先日私のパソコンを使って買ったのはこれなのね。
Well, yeah.
最近のおもちゃってすごいのね。こんな距離であんなに小さな的に当てるなんて。
I won't deny that the gun performs well, but that was a 25-meter outdoor shot, you know? If you're gonna praise anything, it should be Makina's skills.
そうだぞ。私は褒めると伸びる子だって地図も言ってたぞ。と言われても、私にはどれほどのことなのか今一つピンとこないのだけれど。
Same, Yumiko. I myself have never actually gone playing like air rifles or paintballs or whatever. Never been my thing. In that case, want to give it a shot yourself?
そうだそうだ。ユミちゃんも自分でやってみりゃどんだけ難しいか
ただけるのも嬉しいけれど、私は泥まみれになるのはごめんだわ。どちらかといえば椅子に座って紅茶でも飲みながらチェスでも指す方が好きかしら。
相変わらずのインドア派なのね。そんなこと言ってったらドジミだって言われんのよ。
イリスさん、私のことをドジミだと言っているのってどなたなのかしら。
強いて言うなら主に私。
あら、そうなの。やだわ、こんなに力強く自白する犯人なんて私初めて見たかしら。もう言わない？
Come now, Sakaki. The girls demonstrated remorse. Why not show a little pity?
まったく、あなたがこの学園に来たからというもの、ますますイリスさんの口が悪くなってきているような気がするのだけれど。
You might actually be right, Yumiko. What? Is this my fault? Well, I mean, I guess you might have something of a point, but...
この女、加減ってものを知らねえ。これだから一人っ子はよ。
イリスさん。
はい、すいません。また勘違いしてました。マキナは悪い子でした。
まあいいわ。風見くんもあまりイリスさんに変な悪影響を与えないように気をつけなさい。
I am trying, you know. I do scold her every once in a while, but...
だからまず叱る人間であるあなたが生活態度を改めなさいとそう言っているつもりなのだけれど。
In other words, lead by example, not just instruction. Impressive insight, Sakaki.
分かっているのならなおのことよ。実践なさい。
あれ、なんだよユミちゃん、行っちゃうの？一緒に遊ぼうぜ。
結構よ。お二人でどうぞ。
Sakaki, you have a second before you go?
何？
Come on, no need for the full power scowl. I just wanted to ask if you could keep quiet to the others about this.
それは構わないけれど、理由ぐらい教えてもらえるんでしょうね。
Until we get this officially sanctioned as a safe extracurricular sport, I don't want to deal with people's prejudiced misconceptions. That's the only reason.
スオさんはすでに何か嗅ぎつけているわよ。
I'm aware. I asked Amani to turn a blind eye for now.
あのね、考えてもごらんなさい。スオさんが知っているのなら他に誰に隠すというの？学園長も了承済みなのでしょ？となればあとは松島さんと小峰さんよ。あの二人に知られたところで何を困ることがあるというの？
おう、言われてみりゃそうなのよさ。
Right. Even if we told Michiru, she'd probably fire back, okay, so what? Do whatever you want. I mean, it's not like I'm interested in the slightest, so can you not waste my time telling me? Just die already, why don't you? Or something along those lines, building up such a head of steam that the whole tsundere train ends up flying off the rails in a burst of verbal violence. And as for Sachi, we'd probably get shooting. Somehow the word has a rather lewd resonance, does it not? Just what do you plan to be shooting into what? Goodness, my loins are all aflutter. Or something along those lines, leaving out with an earshot reflexively pressing palm to forehead and groaning in anguish. Okay, is there not a single halfway normal person in this damn place?
それは自分も含めての発言でしょうね。
つうか、今さら何言ってんの？
Fair enough. This place really is a den of eccentrics, isn't it? No wonder I fit in.
だいたい秘密にしておくと危険じゃないかしら。赤旗だったの？あれが掲げられている時は立ち入り禁止と全員に徹底しておかないと。安全のためのルールを知らないなんてそれこそ意味のないものでしょ。
What's this? A sensible argument?
こういうことを言ってると なんかまともな人に見えるから不思議なのよさ。あ、仕方ですか。ですよね。はい、マキナ黙ってます。
とにかく何をやっているのかは秘密にするとしても、赤旗のルールは徹底しておきなさい。私からは以上よ。
I can't deny that it seems we were a little sloppy in our safety procedures. Guess there's nothing for it. Time to break out the ultimate weapon.
最終兵器？何それ、ミサイル？
No, try again.
じゃあ限りなくミサイルに近い何か別のもの？
Why are you so caught up on the missile thing? When it comes to ultimate weapons, nothing is more ultimate than the mouth gun.
何それ？
Treating an empty gun as though it were loaded with live ammo, lining up your shots as normal, then yelling bang bang instead of firing.
はあ、つまり状況の人になれってやつな。
That's right. And when you're not actually firing rounds, anything becomes a legitimate target. Image training's pretty good stuff, you know? We could climb up onto the roof of the Eastern School building and aim at the principal's office.
ああ、地図を狙撃すんのか。ちょっと楽しそうなのよさ。
Hell, since we're not actually firing, we could even go for an even longer distance shot. Like, let's see. Sniping the principal's office from that high spot on the beach, maybe. Nah, I guess that might be pushing it. When you get over 1200 meters, 7.62 millimeters isn't really going to cut it.
じゃあさ、とりあえずあれ撃つ練習してみるってのは？
What thing? God damn it, Machina. Machina's stubby finger indicates a twin-tailed bottle blonde apparently strolling back from the convenience store, obliviously sucking away at a half-unwrapped ice cream bar. Not a bad idea. Alright, Machina. Camo on, then get in position to fire.
じゃあ
Distance to target 70 meters. Wind from right to left. Up 3, right 2. Target movement speed estimated 4 kilometers per hour. Adjust your windage to 2 millimeters further to the right.
捉えたのよさ。
Don't aim for the head. Smack it right into that meager little chest. Got that?
射撃よーいよーし。
Fire. Having successfully eliminated the menace of a pseudo-tsundere invasion, we proceeded to mess around blowing imaginary holes in various targets through precision mouth gun sniping. That's some image training, Yuji.
マーキナ、あんた晩ご飯食べ終わったんならさっさとお風呂入っちゃいな。私も後からすぐに行くから先に行ってなさいな。
日焼けした。顔面と肩がめっさ痛いのよさ。
日焼け止めもしないで一日中外で遊んでるからでしょうが。
だって日焼け止めしても汗ですぐ流れちゃうんだものよ。
楽しかった？
ごっさ楽しかった。
ごっさか。そりゃかなり楽しかったみたいね。何して遊んだの？
うわっぶね、誘導尋問に引っかかるところだったのよさ。イリスマキナ、美浜学園所属、学籍番号4番、1月13日生まれ。
何？どうしたの急に？
敵の捕虜になったら名前と認識番号と生まれた日しか教えちゃいけないんだってパパが言ってた。
捕虜って、あのね、別に拷問してまで聞き出そうとは思ってないわよ。いいからお風呂入ってきなさい。
了解。
まったく。
いけねえ。アヒル持ってくの忘れるとこだったのよさ。
ああ、もうアヒルはいいけど他にはおもちゃを持ってっちゃダメよ。まったく元気なのはいいんだけどさ。さてと、それじゃあ早速マキナの日記でもっと。あれ、あの子日記帳どこにしまったのよ。さっき書いてたんだからそんなに奥にはしまい込んでないわよね。あ、やだ またこんなところに脱ぎ散らかした靴下しまい込んで、一度履いたらちゃんと洗濯に出せっての。もうつーか日記帳はどこよもう。お、あったあった、これこれ。なになに、本日の日付はと、あったあった、どれどれ。今日はパパと一緒にプリンキングごっこをして遊んだ。ゲロッサ楽しかった。ゲロッサ？まあきっとメッサの最上級のことなんだろうけど、それより何これ、これがプリンキング？わしがプリンの王様、プリンキングじゃーって。もう何よこれ。モギタンの次はプリンキングっていうか、なんだかもうほんと全然意味がわかんない。あの子は一体ユージと一緒に何してんだろう。
Trayton and Purin King were the best of friends. They spent many carefree days playing together in a deep dark forest, rumored to be haunted by goblins. One day, Tunafish Man abruptly appeared before them. While vigorously disemboweling himself with a gleaming knife, he spoke thus. Toro! It seems Amane was tormented by this remarkably surreal dream, ultimately leaping to her feet and yelling, "What the hell now?" to no one in particular. A sad tale, although I failed to see why she complained to me the next morning. I finished my coffee. I think we're about a month and a half in this academy so far, or in this school. Elderly people are fond of the phrase, experience as much as you can while you're young. But it's apparently somewhat rare for youngsters to genuinely understand those words. I'm something of a special case. I've seen much more than most people my age. Hell, I think I'm on the world-weary side of things. But even so, sometimes a small discovery or brief comment will completely overturn what I thought I knew. Experience is the most valuable form of knowledge, the survivor's greatest prize. Repeatedly experiencing something until you know it inside and out is worthwhile. So is seeking out new experiences and widening your horizons. And this time, Machina opted for the latter. I don't think it's anything more complicated than that. Just this morning, Machina declared that she would be spending her summer vacation in the dorm rather than accompanying Amane to Kyoto for the second time. Apparently, this last-moment change of plans was announced just as Amane was preparing breakfast today, and came as such a shock that the girl dropped her kitchen knife to the floor dramatically.
何度も聞くようだけど、なんで？こんなのと一緒にいたって楽しくないでしょ？
Can you not call me a thing to my face? At the very least, try not to point for emphasis. You managed to bruise my feelings a bit.
まあ、パパと一緒にいたいってのが一番の理由なんだけど、他にもアルバイトとかあるし、リンゴの苗の水やりとか、ザリガニの世話とかもあるしな。京都は去年経験したので、今年はパパと初めての夏を過ごします。
大丈夫なのかな。あんたご飯とかどうするの？大丈夫。
パン焼きマッシーンもあるし、パン食べ放題なのよ。
パンだけじゃダメでしょ。ちゃんと栄養も考えないと。何か日持ちするおかずでも作ってから行こうかしら。
It'll be fine. I'm going to take care of the cooking.
つうか、あんた料理できんの？なんか豆ばっかり食ってるイメージが。
Not to worry, I'll get some pumpkins in there as well. A human being won't die as long as they've got beans and pumpkins to eat.
あとパンもな。あ、かぼちゃパンでも焼いてみる？やべ、うまそうじゃね？
なんか心配。マキナが行かないなら、私も行くのやめようかな。
心配すんなって。割と何でも器用にやってみせるから大丈夫なのよさ。 行ってくるがいい。そしてお土産は生じゃないやつし買ってきて。お抹茶味のやつ。
あんた本当に硬いもの好きよね。
I'm a traditionalist myself. Give me some of the default cinnamon flavored ones.
わかったわよ。ちゃんとお土産買ってくるから、マキナはちゃんと宿題やるのよ。ユージはちゃんとマキナに宿題やらせるのよ。
Yes.
わかってんのかな。私がいなくなっても遊んでばっかりいちゃダメなんだからね。
いなくなるって言っちゃやだよ。あまねえ、ちゃんと帰ってくるのよ。帰ってこなかったらあまねえがどこへ行っても必ず探し出して迎えに行くからね。
ストーカーみたいなこと言わないの。ちゃんと帰ってくるからね。
No need to drag out the farewells then. The Yokohama Shinkansen lives at 8:50, right? You're going to miss the train unless you get a move on.
じゃあ行ってくるね。
Very well. Makina, we will now send off Amane on our journey to the capital with 3 hearty cheers.
そうよ。そうあまねくんの出発を祝して万歳万歳万歳。
やめてよ、恥ずかしいじゃない。
And so, Amane finally turns and runs up the stairs toward the station's ticket gate, fleeing our largely meaningless farewell salute. While I certainly appreciated the value of Amane's contribution to our well-being, I assume her temporary absence wouldn't have any particularly serious effects on our lives. To be honest, that casual attitude was partly the product of stubborn pride. I got along just fine by myself before, didn't I? But once the woman was actually gone, it didn't take 30 minutes for the first problems to begin surfacing. Hey Makina, how old are the eggs in this fridge?
そんなこと聞かれても私が産んだわけじゃないのよさ。
I'd hope not.
2、3日で腐るものでもないし、あまねはいっつも奥に新しい卵を入れるから手前から使ってきゃ OK じゃね。
I see.
それよりおトイレの紙がもうなくなりそうだけど、替えはどこにあんのよさ。
What the? I thought Japan had those high-tech toilets, even in 2011. Or are they talking about toilet paper? I mean, I guess they still have toilet paper, but damn, Japanese and their crazy high-tech toilets, man. They have like warm seats so that you don't get you don't get cold when you want to poop or some shit. It's insane. Where was it again? I do remember buying her some, so we should have plenty in stock.
あまねは何でもしまっちゃう女だから、きっとどっかにしまい込んでるのよさ。
Like where? I don't see anywhere to hoard things in this room.
階段の下かも。ほら、この部屋の向かいにある階段の下の小部屋、別名あまね倉庫。
Amane Warehouse.
あまねはティッシュとかトイレットペーパーとか缶詰とかスーパーで安売りしてるととりあえず買ってあまね倉庫に放り込んでおく癖があんのよさ。ペットボトルのお水とかも50リットルぐらいしまい込んでるのよ。
Sounds like a pretty decent little emergency stockpile.
基本的に貧乏症なのよさ。クッキーの箱の包装紙とかリボンとかまで取っておくタイプな。
Parshumonis? What the hell are you trying to say, Makina? Usually I know what the hell Makina wants to say, but I guess I just don't know what that word means.
貧乏症で思い出した。
Makina promptly sticks her head into the fridge and starts rooting around in search of something.
あったあった。これこれ。
What's that supposed to be? The semi-transparent Tupperware container in Makina's hand is stuffed to the brim with a yellowish powdery substance.
ほら、前にあまねがかぼちゃのスープ作ったでしょ。これはジューサーで絞ったかぼちゃの絞りかすなのよさ。
Seriously? Who bothers to save that stuff?
そんなものとは何ですか。かぼちゃは皮の部分が一番栄養があるのよ。それを捨てるなんてとんでもない。
I see. My apologies, but what are you planning to use it for?
もちろん の八つ橋の話で思いついたんだけど、シナモンロールも作ろう。
I see. Talking about Yatsuhashi get you in the mood for something with cinnamon?
そういうことな。じゃあ早速パン生地を。
Hold on, Makina. Take a look at the clock.
おお、9時な。そろそろあまねえは新幹線乗った頃かしら。
Mayhaps yourself. Look at the other wall.
レフト、ライト、ジャッカス。
Wrong. I point to a large piece of paper hanging on the wall. The words summer vacations schedule scrawled across the top in Makina's handwriting.
なんだ？スケジュールってのは新種の用語？
Playing dumb isn't much good when you're the one who wrote the damn thing. 9 in the morning is homework time, right?
宿題つっても、あまねえが勝手にやっときなさいって言ってるだけで、別に学
Sorry
校
about
で
that.
出た宿題じゃないのよ。
Was adjusting my armrest? True enough, and Amane's not around, so I guess it's all good.
そうそう。あははのは。
Were you seriously expecting me to say that? Idiot.
そげん怒らんでもよかろうもん。
If you're thinking I'm going to be a soft touch compared to Amane, you've got another thing coming. You decided to schedule yourself, so I want to see you at least pretending to follow it.
振りだけでいいの？
Not like you learn something if I force you to study when you don't want to. But at the very least, make yourself sit in front of your desk at a set time every day and pretend to study. Once that becomes a habit, your brain will start waking up all on its own when the time comes. You'll be able to focus intently and get a great deal done in a short time.
本当に？
There's no point in trudging along through your textbooks for hours on end. 1 hour is just about right for a study session. Give it a try and you'll see.
なんかうまく騙されているような気がする。
Set aside a specific time every day for focused, undistracted study. I learned that simple technique from my big sister. Apart from her school subjects, she could consistently produce outstanding results in virtually anything with nothing more than an hour or so of daily review. And once I adopted her study method, I managed to maintain a fairly respectable academic standing in my own right. When you get used to studying in brief chunks, you naturally start challenging yourself, pushing to see how far you can get within the limited time you have. Sometimes you'll look back after the hours finish and be stunned at how much you accomplished. As a guy who basically crams myself like 15 minutes before the test, I cannot understand people like reviewing stuff for like an hour a day. That's definitely not my type of studying. And so, starting off with a quintessentially Japanese just for show attitude, Makina sits before her homework problems and pretends to ponder them. But as her style of pretending is pretty superficial, it amounts to little more than a childish parody of real studying. Her pen doesn't move an inch. Just moaning in a vaguely appropriate way doesn't really count, you know? At least try to use your head.
振りって意外とめんどくさいのよさ。
Realizing that is step one. I mean, the world would be overflowing with geniuses if you could get smarter with no effort, right? Guess it's all for the best though. Ooh. See, it's happening again on my earphones. It's kinda weird. Not like a super high IQ does much but make life harder. I'm guessing it's only my earphones though, or my headphones. So it's not like you guys are hearing it. It might be the cable. Damn! Lots of my cables are failing lately.
それはなんとなくわかるような気もするのよさ。でもそう思える人は寂しい人なんじゃないかなってそう思うのよ。
Wait, what did he say? The world will be overflowing could occur. Super high IQ does much but make life harder. Okay. You're talking like you actually know something about this.
まあな、これでも一応あれよ。子供の頃は振動って呼ばれてたのよ。
Ah, right. Think I sort of know where you're coming from. People labeled prodigies and geniuses often come off as a little broken in the head.
パパは笑わないんだね。
Hmm? At what?
私 私が昔振動だったって言っても笑わないのね。
Didn't you hear me? I kind of understand what you mean. I don't have first-hand experience, but my hyper-competent big sister fell into a similar category. Children labeled prodigies have their hands full just meeting the expectations of those around them, and their brilliance earns resentment and jealousy from peers. At best, they end up walled off by their own exceptional status. As my sister often said, once they set you apart, you're left with a choice. You can struggle to stay the genius, or you can play the fool and become a clown. And come to think of it, it's easy to imagine that where my sister chose the former option, Makina went for the latter. You don't have to pretend to be an idiot around me, you know?
それはちょっと私を買いかぶりすぎなのよ。正直な話、バカのふりを続けるうちに自分でもどっちの自分が本当の自分なのかよくわかんなくなってきてるのよさ。パパはどっちの私がいい？
Guess I like the way you are. Well, not that I want you to keep acting like a doofus, but there's a lot I like about you right now.
例えば？
Let's see. For example, the way you're earnest and proactive about everything. The way you never give up on something without even trying. These last few weeks, I've deliberately said some pretty absurd things to Makina. Made some unreasonable demands. Even so, the girl gives everything a try. She's eager to discover new things she can do, and willing to work hard at the things she can't yet manage. And when she does succeed at a task she struggled with, she comes running right over to me with her face full of pride, wishing for compliments. At the end of the day, the girl might just want my praise and respect, but it hardly matters why, does it? When I pat her on the head and say you did well, and see her squint like a contented kitten, mysteriously enough, I find myself thinking, alright, what should I teach her next? Almost like an affectionate parent. I find that more than a little strange, but I can't deny it makes me happy as well. I'm willing to bet my master felt something similar when she adopted me. Looking at it from that angle, this make-believe game seems almost like some karmic mission pressed on me by fate. It's a slightly creepy thought, but there's also something fulfilling about it. I definitely like having you around, and I think you're cute the way you are. But that doesn't mean I'm okay with you being a clown for the rest of your life. I want to make that clear.
まあね、私もずっとこのままじゃいられないってのは分かってるのよ。でも勉強したところで何が変わるの？っていうか、なんで勉強なんかしなきゃいけないのかな？
Let's see. In your case, the fact that you're already pretty comfortable financially might be the biggest problem. The most compelling reason to study is probably when it's a step towards some lucrative future or dream career. I mean, once you've decided what you want to do with your life, reading textbooks isn't exactly crucial. Like, if you're determined to become a pianist, you can focus entirely on studying the piano and ignore the rest. Well, that's something of an extreme example, granted. Point is, it doesn't matter so much what you're learning. If you're really determined to become a concert pianist, for example, the piano? Damn, I feel like sometimes I say this word wrong. Piano? Becomes a lens through which you see everything else. By engrossing yourself in the piano, there we go, piano, there we go. Sometimes I say it wrong, I don't know why. I guess it's because I was saying pianist before. You can gain a rich, broad understanding of the world. The kind of deep knowledge you'd never pick up from thumbing indifferently through textbooks. People can get myopic, of course. The difference between the word specialist and the term idiot savant is the difference between seeing the world through your field and mistaking your field for the world itself. Peering through the lens I picked up from my master, I got a pretty decent feel for the way things work out there. And as I learn, every scope you can pick offers its own unique perspective. Gazing through your chosen lens helps shape your values and define you as a person. Makina, do you have any, I don't know, dreams? Something you want to be when you grow up? That sort of thing?
そうね。今んところパン屋さんが狙撃兵ぐらいかな。
Those two are very different, Makina. Well, you're not lacking in variety at least. You've got the vaguely warm world of a baker, something soothing people's souls through their taste buds, and a cold sniper tracking a distant target with death in their eyes. When it comes to common ground, I guess they're both occupations requiring a lot of stoic behind-the-scenes effort. While I'm feeling a little dubious about Makina's future planning right now, as a parent, I should be trying to leave as many paths open to her as possible. And considering my role as her master, I feel obligated not to laugh in her face. That said, what exactly am I supposed to do for her right now? It's a lot less clear. Glancing down at my watch, I find a dial reading 10 a.m. Alright, that's an hour. We're done studying.
まだ何もしてないのに。
If you're unhappy over wasting an hour of your life, why not use that time a little more productively tomorrow? Keep at it and take baby steps. That's how you form a lasting habit. I turn to the copy of Makina's schedule on the wall. The next block of the day has the words playtime scribbled next to it in sloppy letters. Seems to have some recreation next, but I have to say, doesn't this schedule have a great deal of playtime?
バイトのない日なんてそんなもんなのよさ。つうわけなんで遊んでよパパ。
Again with this. Play what?
パパは前の学校にいた時何して遊んでたの？
Don't think I recall a lot of playing in general. I'd gotten used to a way of life where extracurricular activities were limited to eating and sleeping, so my off days were usually some combination of napping, reading books, and studying. As for the guys around me, it was all cards, ponies, or boats. The rare outliers were the ones who opted for bikes or motorcycles instead. And I'm not about to ask the girl ponies or poker in the first place. I only went to the races or casinos when they forced me to tag along on a group outing. In my old school, you needed to submit an application to leave the grounds on your days off. Without a stamped authorization card, they wouldn't let you take a step outside.
おお、なんか面倒なのな。
It was indeed. There were a bunch of people who didn't get out much, myself included.
じゃあパパは今年の夏休みもずっと寮で過ごすの？
No, I'm planning to visit a grave, for one thing.
お墓？誰の？
My master's, in Yamanashi. Need to clean it up and all that.
いつ行くの？
Haven't decided yet, but sometime before the Bond Festival. Figured I'd set a welcoming fire.
じゃあ今日行こうよ。
Today?
今から私お弁当作ってあげる。
To be certain, it seems a little more constructive than hanging around the dorm aimlessly. And I did give JB advance warning of my plans. It's a little sudden, but I don't see any reason why not. I take my private cell phone from my breast pocket, navigate to the number marked JB, Haradera Yuria, and press the call button.
はい。
The phone rings several times before JB picks up. Her voice oozes with the bleary displeasure of an overworked public servant, pulled out of bed by a telemarketer. Were you sleeping?
ここのところ面倒な仕事が多くてね。少し仮眠していただけよ。要件は何？
It's about that trip to Sako's grave. I decided to go today.
また急ね。日にちが決まったなら3日前には報告してって言っておいたでしょ。
Thing is, when I woke up this morning, Asako was standing at my bedside with a bitterly resentful look on her face, cursing me for not visiting her grave. I burst into tears and said, "You got it all wrong. It's all JB's fault." But she just didn't seem to buy it.
ちょっとなんで私のせいにしてるのよ。
JB, you were just sleeping yourself, right? Tell me, has Asako's spirit paid you a visit yet?
やめてよ。私そういうの嫌いなんだから。
In any case, I've got to visit Asako's grave ASAP. Give me permission to leave the prefecture.
わかったわよ。許可は出してあげるから、利用する交通機関と途中立ち寄り先を記載した行動予定表をメールで送ってちょうだい。
Affirmative.
まさかまた何日もかけて歩いていくつもりじゃないでしょうね。
No, this time I'll be using conventional public transport. Halfway through the sentence, I happen to notice Amani's helmet lying in a corner of the room. Hold on, actually, I think I'll get there on my own power after all.
走っていく気？
No, I'll go by motorbike.
バイク？誰の？
I'm borrowing Amani's.
交通違反したり事故なんか起こしたりしたら大問題よ。電車にしなさいよ。
How many times do I have to tell you that I can't stand trains?
だったら許可しないと言っても聞かないんでしょうね、あなたは。
Glad to see you understand the nature of our situation. Give me the go-ahead.
使用する車体のナンバープレートと車体番号、それと自賠責保険の番号をメールしてちょうだい。
What the hell is a VIN? Something something number, I guess. Vehicle something number. Got it. I'll send that before I leave. Alright then.
あまねえのボバ太郎で行くの？
Bobataro?
あまねえのバイクの名前。
Ah, yeah, that's right. Amane did say I could use it anytime, you know? Figured I might as well take the chance to ride for the first time in a while. She did insure the thing properly, right?
わかんねえ。
The documents would probably be with the vehicle itself, I guess. Let's go take a look. After locating a motorcycle key engraved with the letter K, among numerous others dangling on a hook by the door inside Amane's room, Maki and I promptly head to the parking lot near the courtyard. Amane does talk about this bike every once in a while, but I've never actually seen her riding the thing. In fact, although I've noticed a likely looking vehicle sitting under a cover in the lot, I've never actually cast eyes on the beast itself. Amane once said, I'm not sure what the name was, but a Kawasaki 250, I guess. I guess that's a Kawasaki. Even I know what that brand is, okay? And I'm not very familiar with motorbikes or cars. At first, I pictured some sporty touring model with a parallel twin engine. But then again, Chizuru described it as a chopper that wouldn't look out of place in an American biker gang. So just what do we really have here? Bracing myself for anything, I tear off the cover dramatically. What the hell? And still, the very first words out of my mouth are a simple expression of disbelief. Even before I removed the tarp, I had the feeling something was off. For a general commercial model, the thing was just too short and too long. And indeed, the vehicle under the sheet is no mere motorcycle. It's a genuine hot rod, ridiculously low set, modified so violently that I can't even guess what the original model was. This is ridiculous. Looks like they cut it apart with a blowtorch and saw, then mashed it back together. And the rear suspension's ludicrously short. Can't even remember the last time I saw a lowrider like this. Just from a glance, I can tell the frame's been cut at the neck, then elongated with a new weld at a different angle. And the conventional seat rail seems to have been chopped off entirely. It's been replaced by a small tandem seat sitting demurely on top of a tacked-on flat rear fender. Hell, even the main saddle's been replaced with a cruiser seat. I'd been expecting to find documents in a storage space under the seat, which clearly doesn't even exist anymore. For a moment, I just stare at the hacked-together monstrosity in astonishment. I'm not that familiar with the genre, but I guess it's the sort of motorcycle you'd call old school? I see. This really is the sort of thing you could picture some American biker riding. That said, the delinquents over there are all riding super sports or power cruisers these days. The only people who really appreciate the classic American style anymore are old men with beer bellies and the Japanese.
ああ、久しぶりに見たのよさ。
Tell me, Makina, you have any idea where she stashed the papers?
多分そこ。他に入れるとこないし。
Makina points out an inconspicuous leather tool bag hanging off the side of the motorcycle, secured at the fastener with a small padlock. Ah, right. There'd been a small key I couldn't identify in the same ring as the motorcycle key. Guess that must be for the bag. Let's see. The papers are... Oh, there we go. After removing the lock, I begin rifling through the contents of the cylindrical bag. Sifting through a minor assortment of tools, I discover a sheaf of papers rolled into a plastic tube. Owner, Suo Amane. We've got the VIN and license plate number, and the compulsory insurance. Looks like it's good through April next year. Damn, she's even got supplementary insurance. with a rider covering a passenger.
まああまねはそういうとこしっかりしてるからな。
We should learn from her example. Alright then. Looks like there won't be any issues using this.
そうな。あとの問題は動くのかってことなのよさ。
What?
ここんとこあんまし調子が良くないらしいのよ。最近は全然乗っていなかったし。
Well, when you chop it up and sew it back together like Frankenstein's monster, it's hardly surprising the thing might get a little cranky.
じゃあボバ太郎のことは任せるのよさ。私はお弁当の準備を始めるのよ。
Indeed, I'll take care of it. That said, easy enough to talk big, but what's the deal with this thing? I can't even tell what it used to be before they started hacking away at it. Looking at the papers, it seems like the base was an off-road motorcycle. More precisely, a dual-purpose trail bike that could handle messing around in the dirt. Oh yeah, I'm hearing that again. Damn, something's wrong with my headphones and I think I need to fix it real quick. For sure, I feel like it's the cable, but we'll see. But the motor model doesn't match the vehicle type. Did they swap in an engine from a totally different motorcycle? Completely ridiculous. Hell, where do you even put the key into this thing? There's nothing that looks like an ignition cylinder on the top bridge. After repeatedly looking over both sides of the frame, I finally discovered the keyhole has been relocated under the main seat on the right. Inserting the key, I give it an exploratory half turn to the right. And in the custom mini-meter wedge on the left of the tank, the green neutral light and red oil light blink to life. Battery seems to be alive. I reach out to the right handle and feel around for the starter switches, but they aren't where I expected them to be either. I kind of botched that sentence. Sorry. Looking more carefully at the engine, the self-starter motor seems to have been removed entirely. The hole's plugged up with a black rubber stopper. It's a kick? Fighting down a wave of irritation, I look over the right side of the frame to find a kickstart lever. It's unusually shaped, looks custom ordered, probably designed to keep the brake from getting in the way when you're kicking down to start it. Wait, is this thing forward on the left and mid-control on the right? Unbelievable. Guess I should be grateful they didn't throw in a suicide clutch while they were at it. Probably because the rear brake is a cable pulling drum type. The pedal is positioned further back compared to the shift lever on the left side. Seems like it feels a little weird. I mean, once the thing gets up to speed, you'll just be resting your right foot on the forward peg anyway. But having to move your leg all the way back to get to the brake is even more disconcerting. This is like going all over my head, by the way. Yes, I ride a bike, but I ride a normal bicycle. I ride a road bike. I have no idea what Yuji's talking about in terms of the geometry of this motorbike. In any case, let's see how the engine runs. I flip open the cap of the carelessly unlocked tank and find plenty of gasoline inside. And within seconds, I can see volatilizing petroleum shimmering in the summer sunshine. Look as though the fuel's still good. After switching the petcock valve under the tank from off to on, I pull the choke plunger on the carburetor halfway out. Then put my foot on the kickstart and lightly press around the lever in search of top dead center. The moment I discover the point of greatest resistance, I give it a good hard kick. Oh? That was easy enough. Considering how long the vehicle's just been sitting here neglected, the motorcycle starts up so easily that it actually feels like a bit of an anticlimax. A vehicle this heavily customized is normally a bit more ornery. Was Amane actually keeping this thing maintained all the time it's been sitting here? Just as I'm feeling a good bit of admiration for its owner, there's a strange little sneeze from the motorcycle's exhaust pipe, and its vigorously idling engine abruptly stalls. Whoops. Well, figured it wouldn't be that easy. I give the kick pedal another vigorous step, but this time it doesn't even cuff. There's no sign of the ignition even engaging. You've got to be kidding me, right? Battered by the blazing summer sun, lukewarm sweat trickling heavily down my forehead, I mash down on the kick lever again and again. The neutral light's still on, so the electronics are still functioning. The battery is a small MF type designed to power mopeds and scooters, but with a kickstart that should be more than enough. Even though the electrical system's fine, we're not getting a spark. And the engine did start once, just a minute ago, which would mean 10 bucks says the CDI is on the fritz. What's a CDI? Oh, capacitor. Capacitor discharge ignition, or CDI for short. It's a generic term for an electronic device that controls the ignition of an engine. Among the extremely simple mechanical parts of a typical motorcycle engine, it stands out as a comparatively advanced piece of electronics. Because of that complexity, it's not uncommon for it to malfunction, especially given its position in a rough environment of high heat and constant vibration. Sometimes it'll abruptly stop working entirely. Oh, give me a sec. I gotta turn off the night light. It's already 7 o'clock. There we go. Damn it! Where's the CDI? Peering under the tank, I find the ignition coil and follow it along the harness. No, that's the turn signal relay. And this is the headlight booster relay. Okay, what's this thing? The fuse box? The fuse isn't blown. God damn it, it's hot! A black puddle of sweat forms on the ground beside me as I squat next to the bike. CDI. Where's the damn CDI? After a good 10 minutes of groping along the harness, I finally notice an inconspicuous side cover just below the seat on the left side. After removing it, I discover a square black object sitting next to the regulator/rectifier. Found it. There you are, you little bastard. Carefully removing the coupler connecting the CDI to the harness, I intensely scrutinize the little black box, but there's no visual evidence of it being damaged. Then again, it's not exactly the sort of part you can reliably assess by eyeballing. Reaching my thumb around behind the plastic cover, I gently rub the electronic guts of the unit through their protective coat of epoxy resin. When the CDI is keeping your engine from starting, this will often be enough to bring it back to life. Of course, that's really just a temporary stopgap measure, not a resolution of the fundamental problem. But if this does get the engine firing again, it would confirm the CDI is responsible. Reattaching the freshly massaged piece of electronics to its coupler. I think it's coupler, right? Not coupler? Should be coupler. I press down firmly on the kick pedal once more. I told you so, asshole. It really was the CDI. Hand over that 10. As I vent my spleen on some vaguely defined imaginary foe, Amane's motorcycle, Bobataro, springs easily back to life. It proceeds to rumble pleasantly away underneath me. I have to say though, this thing is pretty noisy. I'll take this sort of growling over high-pitched shrieking any day, but if I got this thing going and drove past some elementary school, it'd definitely be loud enough to get the kids grimacing and covering their ears with their hands. Oh well, guess I'll have to stuff some steel wool or something in the exhaust pipe and quiet it down. I just watch over the thing as it idles for a while, but the engine doesn't seem inclined to sputter off again. Maybe the CDI itself wasn't the issue. The contact with the coupler might just have been off. Temporarily stopping the engine, I check the oil and lights, then move on to testing the front and rear brakes. All good. But when I finally get around to looking at the air pressure on the tires, Christ, are you serious? It's got a damn flat. Am I going to have to change a tire in this absurd heat? Cut me a damn break already. Sighing heavily, I lean my head back and gaze up into the sky. Within seconds, I can feel the tip of my nose scorching under the blazing sunlight. I'm sorely tempted to just say screw it, but after all this effort, giving up and going by train would be seriously galling in its own right. This right here might take some time. Muttering an excuse to no one in particular, I decide to temporarily return to my room and rehydrate myself. For a moment, I'm seriously tempted to take the wheel off entirely and lug it back to my bathroom to patch up. But fortunately, it doesn't prove to be anything quite that serious. When I start pumping air back into the tire, it inflates back up normally, and the pancake on the bottom disappears completely in a matter of minutes. Why is it that the tube tires always manage to lose air just sitting in a parking lot? While this minor mystery nags at me somewhat, by the time 11 rolls around, we've successfully raided everything we need for our trip. Alright, are all preparations for departure complete?
お弁
Excellent. The time is currently 1100 hours. We're beginning the operation. All personnel, embark. Okay, it abruptly cut off there. Straddling Bobotaro like a bold general swinging onto his warhorse, I deposit Machina in the tandem seat. Make sure she's got a firm grip on my waist. Then kick the bike into first gear with the tip of my left foot, and slowly squeeze the clutch lever to the handle. Okay, so that's how it looks. I actually forgot how the bike looks, so that's pretty interesting. Looks like it's going to be another hot one. You did put on sunscreen, right? As we begin to leisurely putter along the coastal road in the direction of Yamanashi Prefecture, Machina and I talk to the two-way FM radios we use for our sniper games. Naturally, I've hooked them up to throat mics for hands-free operation. You think? I mean, what kind of an idiot would start roaring around on a bike like this? If a tire loses a little air, your levers will be dragging along the ground. A low center of gravity is nice, but this is ridiculous. I've never driven a motorcycle this bizarrely low to the ground before, but just leisurely gliding along in the wake of the car ahead doesn't feel half bad. That said, I can't help thinking its overall lack of power and weak maneuverability, there we go, is going to be an issue once we get on those steep mountain roads. Well, let's just take it slow and easy. Oops, sorry about that. You're old enough to have a license yourself, Machina. Why don't you take the test? I think you guys are actually hearing this super loud. The reason being is that I actually turned off my equalizer. Yeah, that actually lowers the volume for you guys. It lowers the volume for me, but I guess it also lowers the volume for you guys. So sorry if there's like a very distinct increase in volume there. I'm putting it on again. I was trying to see if it was the equalizer that was making my headphones have like some distortion or something. Well, guess I can sort of understand how she feels. It's easy to picture Machina hopping on a moped or something, shouting, "Okay then, I'm going off to play," and tottering off into the distance. At which point, you'd be sitting by the phone, biting your nails, waiting for a call from some hospital or the police. But when you snatch away something from a child and tell them it's dangerous, they'll go to any lengths to play with it behind your back. Personally, I feel like it's better to just let them learn under your strict supervision. But maybe that's a testosterone-infused way of looking at it. Let's see. The way you balance, turn, and stop are all pretty similar to a bicycle, so I don't think it'd be impossible for you to learn. But unlike Amane, you're short and have stubby legs. Might be a little tricky for you to get the hang of it right away, or right now. For starters, let's stick to practicing on your bicycle. Maybe next time we can try some Gymkhana. Gymkhana? The fuck? Gymkhana? What? In the parking lot at school. It's an ideal game for learning the most fundamental part of operating a two-wheeled vehicle. Shifting your body weight while controlling the contact patch and load on your tires. You compete for the best time on an obstacle course. You'll fall off constantly until you get used to it, you know? I know I did. When I was 14 or so, I think. Drove around on the private land up in the mountains where I was living with my master. Right. She started me off by making me climb onto this full-size dirt bike she used to ride, and my legs weren't even close to reaching the ground. So I'd have to reach up and squeeze the clutch with one foot on the gear shift, then swing up onto the seat only after the thing started moving. Getting it started wasn't a picnic, but stopping was just as much of a pain. I had a choice between decelerating as much as possible before jumping down onto the brake, or stopping myself manually with a foot against some stone or tree. Looking back on it now, it's pretty impressive that I managed to right the thing at all.
どうだったやっぱり最初は怖かった
I've been riding bicycles for a long time, so I don't remember being particularly scared. After all, I wasn't trying to pull any death-defying stunts. Compared to the terror I'd experienced previously, it probably didn't even register. Come to think of it, I didn't feel particularly afraid the first time I took my master's place in the field either. Even after finishing the job, returning home and completing my report, when she asked, "Were you scared?" I honestly answered no. Hell, it almost felt like I had fun. But one night came and there was nothing left to do but take a bath and go to sleep. I found myself holding my dick over the toilet bowl, completely unable to piss. A small twinge of doubt ran through me, and I finally noticed that my hands were shaking. As the tension finally drained out of me like a string removed from a bow, I was seized by terror so intense I thought I might never stop shaking. I'd casually, almost thoughtlessly, slipped by a situation where one wrong step could have meant death. Mixed in with the fear was a wave of thankfulness for my sheer dumb luck. I was fortunate today, but the dice might very well fall differently next time. With that thought, the shaking grew stronger. Even now, I can vividly remember the terror I felt that night. But after experiencing that fear again and again, I guess you could say I obtained the ability to control those feelings. Or maybe I just gained a nose for danger and the instinct to avoid it. When you get right down to it, I think it might just be a matter of experience and caution. Put in enough hours to develop the foresight to see trouble coming ahead of time, and you'll be completely fine. You're at greatest risk when you start thinking, "I'm on top of my game today. Bring it on." Basically, don't get too carried away or you'll end up taking a fall. That pretty much sums up riding a motorcycle. I already explained this with the bicycle last time, but any vehicle is safe enough as long as you stay aware of your surroundings and give yourself a generous margin for error.
なるほどつまり通常5割急いで7割ってやつな
Maybe not that low. Man, I actually have been monologuing for such a long time. Yuji has been monologuing so much this episode. Probably because not a lot of people are here, right? Only Machina, and she responds to what we're saying, but you see just the amount of dialogue Yuji says in response to how Machina maybe says one line and then I just monologue for the past 30 seconds, 40 seconds. It's insane.
怖いと感じた時はすでに8割を超えている怖いと感じる一歩手前を意識するのがベストな
Yeah, you've got the idea. Incidentally, right now I'm going about half my baseline pace.
今何キロ出てるの
Don't know how much I can trust a mini meter wedged onto a different company's bike, but roughly 50 kilometers per hour.
なるほどもうちょい速くてもいいかなってスピードの一歩手前なのよさ
Given this speed and following distance, even if the guy in front of us spills hot coffee in his pants and smashes into the guardrail, we wouldn't have any problem dealing with the situation.
安全が一番速いってそういうことなやっぱ私も免許取ろうかな
Man, if I were going like 50 kilometers an hour on the bike, then that would be dangerous. And I do that quite often when I sprint. What's it like driving a motorcycle anyway? Posed this question by Machina, I briefly paused to consider. Do you remember the first day you rode a bicycle? For Machina, it was practically just the other day, so I'm sure she remembers it vividly. The feelings it inspired might not have even faded completely. On the day you learned to ride a bike, the day you pedaled alone down an unfamiliar road for the first time, didn't it feel like the world had suddenly grown larger around you? This world's an endless road that can take you anywhere at all, and that bicycle could carry you much, much further than your weak little legs. That first day, did you ask yourself just how far I can go? The first day I rode a motorcycle, that open question was replaced with something that felt like an answer. I can go wherever the hell I want. That's what a motorcycle is. You understand what I'm saying? Not really, Yuji.
わかんねえもうちっと簡単に説明して
I mean, I actually do understand. Considering I was a person that was walking to the gym before actually using my bicycle, I actually do understand. There's only so much you can do with walking. Sure, you can like walk for long periods of a time, but you're going to be very slow. Like, what's the average people's walking speed or walking pace? My walking pace is about 5 kilometers an hour, and that's when I'm very casual. Maybe if I'm doing like a power walk, 7.5 kilometers an hour. But still, if you use a bike, not a motorbike, a bicycle, I can go up that to like 20 kilometers, 25, 30 kilometers an hour. If I use a motorbike, I can up that to like 70 kilometers an hour, and that is an insane amount of difference. So yeah. I don't know. You can go where you want, stop where you want, even just ride along with no destination at all if you want. That's what a motorcycle is.
それは簡略しすぎてかえってわかりにくいのよさ。
I consult my watch to discover it's already 1 in the afternoon. As if on cue, Makina begins complaining about her grumbling stomach, so I pull over at random in a suitable spot and lay out her plastic picnic sheet for a late lunch. The lunchboxes Makina prepared were, as she had declared earlier, packed primarily with freshly baked cinnamon rolls and pumpkin bread. According to Makina, making these required comparatively little effort on her part, as the bread machine took care of the primary fermentation. But that said, the taste is nothing to scoff at. The girl claims that anyone with a bread maker and a functional brain could achieve such results. I'm slightly moved to learn that we're living in an era where even amateurs can produce bread of this caliber. But at the same time, I feel as though I've caught a glimpse of dark clouds gathering on the horizons for the bakery industry.
ね、パパ、あそこにいっぱい生えてる背の低い木はブドウの木？
Okay. First of all, grapes grow on vines. Secondly, those are mulberry trees.
クワ？クワっつうのはブドウの仲間？
Not that I know of. Why are you so caught up on the grapes anyway?
だって山梨だよ。
Okay, try not to talk as though Yamanashi's got nothing but grapes to offer the world. The good people of Koshu will give you a swift boot to the rear.
なんでだろ？じゃあブドウ以外何があんのよ。
I'm not familiar with this prefecture in Japan, so this is probably trying to tell you guys about their cultural stuff. Peaches?
パパこそ甲州人にぶっ飛ばされんぞ。
Or maybe like specialties, I guess. Wait, no. There's also Hoto soup, and those rice cakes with black honey and don't mess with the valley, okay?
別に舐めちゃいないし、ぶどうも桃も大好きなのよ。岡山とキャラかぶってんけどな。
Did you really have to say that last part? Such a cheeky little brat. Where'd you get that chutzpah from, anyway? Chutzpah?
多分パパに似たんだと思うんだぜ。
Oh, right. Well, anyway, that's a mulberry tree. Food for your Bombix Mori.
また知らん言葉が出てきた。誰だよ、おかいこさん。
What? You don't know about silkworm moths? You farm the larvae and make silk from their cocoons. The industry's been around forever, you know?
絹ってガの幼虫が作ってんの？
Yeah, it's a natural fiber. You didn't know that either?
クジラのヒゲからバイオリンの弓みたいな感じ？
Wrong on many levels, but the strange thing is, I can actually understand what you're trying to say somehow.
ちょっと見てきていい？
Just looking is fine by me, but don't start plucking off fruit. You got that? Also, put your hat on first.
わかってる。
Just like that, Makina darts off into the blazing sun, flapping her outstretched arms like a bird as she rushes over toward the mulberry field. Thanks to her diminutive frame, she looks like a young child heading off to play. The girl shows interest in anything and everything she encounters. When she runs into something she doesn't understand, she immediately asks why. In return, I offer what answers I can from my own experience and knowledge. When that fails me, we think it over together. Sometimes hearing Makina's perspective leads me to new insights of my own. I guess this might be what people mean when they say teaching someone means learning from them in return. Come to think of it, it was my own instructor who told me that. The person who taught me everything. and made me want to learn in the first place. Not a parent or a teacher. Kusakabe Asako, my master, the woman who single-handedly built me up from nothing. For better or worse, I'm at least 80% the person she made me. She found a whelp crawling along the bottom of the Valley of Despair, reached down her hand, and pulled it up into the world of human beings. For Asako, picking me up might have been an afterthought, an impulsive, spur-of-the-moment decision. Not much more than a whim. Even so, if I hadn't met her, I wouldn't be what I am today. I probably would have given up on life outright a long time ago. But Asako was there on that day, in that moment. She took me by the hand. Thanks to her and the people around her, primarily a certain aggravating, shaggy-headed blonde, I'm standing here today. I'm still living, carrying the final words she left me in my heart. What was the point of keeping a piece of trash like me alive? I want an answer to that question. That, more than anything else, is what keeps me going. Yeah? What's up? No ki- Hey, wait a second! What are you eating?
Huh? スイカだよ。ほら、あそこに農夫のおばあちゃんがいるじゃんね。あの人にもらったずら。
Okay, you put a finger in your mouth and stared at the melon with with the big wistful eyes, didn't you? Please tell me you at least said thank you.
当たり前じゃんけ。ちゃんとお礼言ったずらよ。
Wei? She's already picked up some weird snatches of Koshu dialect just from talking with a local for a few minutes. The girl sure adapts quickly. No, maybe her brain's just pliable as a piece of putty. I stand beside Makina and bow deeply to the kind farmer. Alright then, seems like we're more than hydrated enough. I think it's time we got back on the road.
ワニワニしとらんで、ちゃっちゃと行けし。
Alright, my stomach is actually pretty hungry. Ooh, this is actually a perfect time to almost eat my dinner. I still have about, let's see, 30 minutes left of the episode. I could handle that. You know, your dialect's a little off there. Seems like the field artillery is practicing today. When my ears begin to pick up the air-shaking thunder of the guns in the distance, it feels like we finally entered the Yamanashi I know. Among the vehicles we pass on the road, squat medium trucks and high-mobility vehicles, painted khaki, grow increasingly common. At one point, I make eye contact with a commander sticking his head out of the cupola on a passing Type 96, and have to restrain the impulse to salute. I have to say, Makina, for someone who's supposedly so shy around strangers, you're pretty sociable. Although Irisu Makina has firmly established her position as the shy girl at Mahama Academy, from what I've seen, this reputation seems somewhat exaggerated. In fact, just the other day, I witnessed her impudently sponging chestnut candy off some old couple on a bench outside a sweet shop in a shopping district.
なのよさ。それじゃあまるで正常な判断能力を喪失した老人を対象にして文字通り私腹を肥やす悪人みたいなのよさ。
Well, you did in fact proceed to munch away at the chestnuts with a dopey look of bliss on your face. There might have been some snorting and snuffling involved.
そりゃ食ってたよ。食ってたけれども、だって食べろって聞かれたからうんって言っただけなのよさ。別にこっちから要求を提示したわけじゃないのよ。
Right, so my question is, how exactly are you supposed to be shy again?
私だって別に誰でも声かけるわけじゃないのよ。ちゃんと人を選んでるっていうか。
Come to think of it, it does seem like you're always targeting kind-looking older people.
だからその言い方おかしくない？まあ確かにそうなんだけれども。
So I guess elderly people don't seem so scary. Is that it?
怖くないというか、馴染み深いというか、私はほら、6年も病院にいたわけで、その間ずっと死にかけのじいさま連中に相手をしてもらってたから、じいさん
Man,
を見る目はあるのよ。
the way she put it is so harsh. What? So what? Because she spent all that time surrounded by geezers, she never had the chance to pick up the niceties of interacting with people her age, making it awkward to approach them, I guess?
この世の中には2種類の老人がいます。これまでの人生であまたの三冠を噛み、物事に動じない穏やかな老成を手に入れた老人と、自分の経験してきたことが全てであり、その価値観や考えに反するものを悪と断じて恥じない頭の凝り固まった老人。
We're not talking about Eric Erickson's 8 stages of life, Machina.
人は前者を高校野と呼び、後者を老害というそうですが、
Oh, sorry, I hit the mic cable there.
何せ6年も病院にいたせいで、じじいの良し悪しを嗅ぎ分ける嗅覚には他の被験を許さないほどに卓越したものがあるとの自負があるのよさ。
I see.
じじい臭さじゃパパも相当なもんなのよ。私がパパに懐いた理由だって、なんかじじむさい人だなって思ったのがきっかけだったしな。
A grandpa? Well, I do get you don't act much like a kid pretty frequently, but this is a first.
なんつんだろ、じじむさいっていうか、妙に落ち着いてるし、自分の中にピンと一歩ぶれない筋が通ってるっていうか、何？もし？赤武者？なんかそんな風に感じたのよさ。
Now that you mention it, there was this one time JB saw me repairing my tools on the weekend. Said, "You look like a Ronin making umbrellas."
ああ、近い近い。なんかそんな感じ。
True enough, I've never disliked jobs that call for a steady accumulation of sober effort. But I can't say I was expecting a comparison to a masterless swordsman living austerely off his handicrafts. About 2.5 hours have passed since our departure from the dorm. We've reached an area I know by sight. No longer even bothering to check the map, I doggedly ride up familiar mountain roads toward our destination. The path begins to narrow steadily. It's still paved, fortunately, but soon it's thin enough to deserve the description of farm road. If a car were to come in the opposite direction, we wouldn't be able to pass each other by. That said, the odds of us running into traffic are pretty much zero. At this point, all we have ahead of us is a lonely cell phone tower and an iron gate guarding the entrance to an obscure national forest. The only people we could possibly run into up here would be maintenance workers for the telecom company, or tourists who took a few wrong turns, I suppose. Bobataro labors up the final stretch of road, straining to carry his 2 passengers up the 15-degree slope, 26 at its worst points. 26 degrees?! I don't know how bad that is in terms of percentages incline, but 15% on the bike is insanely hard for me to ride, and I have strong legs. His tappets clack beneath us in a constant chorus of complaint. And finally, after passing 3 sets of faded signboards reading "Authorized personnel only" beyond this point, set some 100 meters apart, the iron gate we're looking for comes into view. We're here, Machina.
よいしょっと。
Machina spreads her legs wide open to push herself over the tandem seat, lowering herself to the ground in a less than refined fashion.
ケツが痛い。血が出てったもん。
The girl rubs her tender rear end through her skirt, twirling around like a dog chasing its own tail. Turning my back on her, I insert my key into the padlock on the hefty iron gate.
ここがパパの山？
Well, it's technically the country's mountain. My master and I lived in a cabin up here, managing the land.
山小屋はどこ？見えないけど。
Let's see. Guess it's about a 30-minute walk from here.
歩くの？
I'd like to ride up there myself, but I don't think Bobataro here would handle a rocky slope like this all too well. Beyond the open gate, a coarse gravel road continues into the mountain, slanting sharply upward at a good 30 degrees or so. Unless you're driving a 4WD Jeep or dirt bike with off-road tires, getting a vehicle up this would be pretty tricky. Amane's Bobataro is a road bike, poorly suited to mountain trails to begin with. And given the ridiculous lowrider remodeling, it clearly get its belly stuck in the dirt before climbing 10 meters.
もしかしてこんな急な坂道を30分も登るの？
No, it's only steep by the entrance. After 30 meters or so, the slope gets a lot more gentle.
仕方がない。軽いレジャー感覚で登るのよさ。
I kill Bobataru's engine, then sling Makina's rucksack over my left shoulder. Leaving our friend sitting in first gear, in the middle of the road, the two of us step past the gate. Things haven't changed much in my absence from the mountain. As always, the air is thick with the lusty cries of cicadas, but there's no sign of human presence. Other than the squawking insects, the only sounds are the crunching of our feet against the gravel and weeds, and Makina's labored breathing, growing quicker and louder with every minute. You alright?
平気。まだ大丈夫。
The girl can be surprisingly stubborn at times like these. Probably an attempt to demonstrate she's not a helpless weakling who needs to be babied constantly. Still have to be sure to keep an eye on her though, or she might end up collapsing to the ground and falling asleep on the spot.
ねえ、パパ、聞いてもいい？
Hmm? About what?
これからお墓参りする人、パパの師匠ってどんな人？
Well, let's see. Where do I even begin? Come to think of it, although I brought Asako up numerous times, I don't remember getting into the details. I mean, nobody really seemed that interested. No, I guess it was just too awkward to ask. My master's name was Kusakabe Asako. We first met when I was 12 or 13 or so. She was a lot older than me, obviously. I'd lost my entire family a while before this. At the time, a friend of my dad's had taken me in, but... Well, that family friend was what you'd call a bad guy. The kind of man who slips through the cracks in the law, profiting off misery and tearing money away from soft-hearted people. The bad guy in question made some enemies on the shadier side of our government. Bit off a little more than he could chew. They decided to bring the hammer down. And the smallest salt force that invaded the villain's lair, well, mansion, and suppressed it in the blink of an eye, was led by my master, Kusakabe Asako.
つまり、子供の頃のパパを悪者から救い出してくれたのがその師匠なのね。
Yeah, that's the basic outline.
それからはずっと師匠と一緒にここで暮らしたの？
Not constantly. We lived here for the first year or so, but I ended up getting shipped off to America fairly soon because of some circumstances with Asako's employer.
カリフォルニアのサンディエゴな。
Good memory.
その後はバージニアのクアンティコで結局また日本に帰ってきたのよね。
That's right. And in between all that, I lived with Asako. She's the one who helped me find the strength I needed to live.
つまり今の私にとってのパパみたいにパパにとっては師匠はママみたいなものだったのね。
Don't think mommy quite covers it. If I had to categorize the woman, I'd say she was my master. But in the sense that she raised a cowardly, snot-nosed brat into a reasonably competent man, I guess you could say she was something like a mother. Kusakabe Asako was the only person I've ever called master, and the only person I ever will. I was nothing but a filthy little cockroach she'd happened to carry home from her job one night. We weren't related. She had no obligation to do anything but flush me down the toilet. And instead, she spent the rest of her life raising me. The woman was a force of nature, infallible and unshakable. Even if she's gone, Kusakabe Asako will always be the strongest woman in the world to me. Just as I estimated, after about 30 minutes of trudging up the mountain, the forest around... What the? There's supposed to be a comma there, I think. Trudging up the mountain, the forest around us begins to thin, and the rough dirt trail grows gentle in slope. As we reach an even plot of land that seems to have been cut neatly out of a natural plateau, a single log cabin comes into view beyond a chained-up metal gate. Alright, Makina, we're here.
疲 あれだ。暑くて死ぬ。ここがパパの実家？
Grew up in? Well, I guess you could say that. Oh, give me a sec. Someone's outside. Sorry about that. Had to pause the recording. Was my dad asking me if I wanted food? Or asking me if I've already eaten or not? Which I haven't. But don't worry, I have my own food. I don't really eat with my dad all that often. He eats like trash. That's why I don't do it. Grew up in? Well, I guess you could say that. Yeah, this is the house where I was raised. It's only been 2 months or so since I left, but the cabin's already under siege by thick wild grasses. The sight inspires a small twinge of melancholy. Melancholy? I feel like I say that correctly before, but I don't think I'm saying it correctly now. I'm tempted to start attacking those weeds right away, but I guess we should go in and rest for a while first.
いやーね。女の子を家に連れ込んで何する気？ふふ。
Don't tee-hee-hee me, kid. Now I have to call up Amani and give her yet another scolding. Removing my keyring from the carabinder I've been using to fasten it to my belt, I select an old-fashioned key with a dull golden color. Push it into the equally old-fashioned keyhole in the oil-finished teakwood door, and give it one rotation to the left. The interior of the cabin, naturally enough, hasn't changed at all in the months since I saw it last. Even after I left, I'm pretty confident JB kept up that melodramatic habit of dropping by for a solitary drink in memory of the departed. But although she's surprisingly averse to cleaning for someone with such an anal personality, it seems she wasn't quite lazy enough to leave her crumpled cans and potato chip wrappers lying around the place.
ここがパパの育ったお家か。なんていうか、思ってたより物が多いのね。ちゃんとテレビもあるし。
Well, it's not like I was living on my own. Only partially paying attention to the conversation, I wander over to the fridge and reach for the handle. Still cold. Guess the electricity is still flowing. Want something to drink? Might have been a hasty offer. Nothing but beer and smoked cheese, huh? Naturally enough, I emptied out the fridge before leaving this cabin behind. What little we do have is clearly just leftovers from JB's visits. Other than the booze and snacks, there's also 3 bottles of my favorite eye drops sitting on a lower shelf. Probably the woman's attempt at a thoughtful gesture, in case I decided to return at some point. I retrieve 1 bottle of eye drops from the fridge and glance over at Makina. Hey Makina. Catch.
何これ？目薬？
A sniper's eyes are their life. Give that stuff a try. If you apply some to both eyes 30 minutes before shooting and stretch your ocular muscles, your focusing speed changes pretty dramatically.
はあ？どれどれ？
Gazing curiously at the bottle in her hand, Makina carefully breaks the seal, then leans her head back with mouth slightly ajar to apply the drops. 1 drop per eye is plenty. No need to blink too much either. Give it a second, then start slowly moving your eyes in figure 8s. As her eyeball begins to move back and forth underneath her lids, Makina's upper body sways along with them. Slowly open your eyes, alternate between looking at something nearby and something far away. Helps get you focusing properly.
手元を見て、遠くを見る。
That's all there is to it. Just repeat this 4 times a day. Morning, noon, evening, and before you go to bed. You still listening?
ね、パパ。あの写真って。
Makina's eyes, after focusing at random on a distant object, have stopped darting back and forth. She's staring at the middle of a small bookshelf where a single photograph of Asako and me as a kid stands in a frame. When I left this cabin behind, I deliberately flipped it face down in an attempt at symbolic closure. But now it's been returned to its original position. Damn it, JB. Mind your own business.
あの写真の人が師匠の人？
Yeah, that's right. I reach out and take the frame from the bookshelf. This is the one and only photograph of Asako remaining in this world. It was taken not long after she first took me in. The day she dragged me off to a zoo in Ueno on what seemed like a whim. Not really a photograph I want to show off, but I pass over to frame the Machina, who proceeds to intently contemplate the photo inside. Asako glowers at the camera, eyebrows furrowed in clear irritation. At her side, a younger me stares coldly at nothing in particular, eyes clouded but glittering with a venomous sheen. I've got a pretty awful look on my face, right? At the time, I was just completely empty. Didn't give a damn about anything or anyone. Pretty much just a dead kid that forgot to stop breathing. I guess Asako got so fed up watching me that she decided to try her hand at babysitting. Not exactly her field of expertise, you understand?
何があったの？
It's a long story, but the abbreviated version is that my whole family died, and I was deeply involved in their deaths. I was responsible, so I couldn't just push the blame on someone else. That self-loathing was probably just too much for me to deal with. Wrap myself up in a shell instead. But thanks to Asako, I managed to get back on my own feet somehow. She gave me, if not a reason to live, then at least an excuse not to die. I might seem almost too vigorous these days, but if I hadn't met Asako, if Asako hadn't taken me in, I might as well have died a long time ago.
命の恩人？
Yeah. Then she went and died before I had the chance to repay the debt. Unbelievable, right?
悲しいね。
That's not how I felt about it, actually. I didn't really mourn when Asako passed. I'd been prepared for the possibility she might die at any time. But for some reason, I still had a hard time believing she was actually gone. Guess there was a part of me that couldn't accept that monster of a woman was really dead. If there was one word that described Asako, it was ridiculous. Not a shred of common sense in her body. She was a bull of a woman, and the world was her personal china soup. And to me, she was something like a god, or a devil. Maybe both.
悪鬼とか神とか、なんかとにかくすごい人だったのね。
Okay, here's a story. This actually happened the same day that picture was taken. I was just sitting around, wallowing in self-hatred, holding a private pity party, honestly. As if that was going to make up for anything. All of a sudden, Asako grabs me by the hand and drags me off to the zoo. She showed me all these animals I'd never seen before. Elephants, giraffes, zebras, the whole deal. Probably hoping to get at least some minor sign of interest out of me. But well, I was really acting like a brat back then. I mean, I actually was a brat, but still. I kept myself inside that shell, not even twitching an eyebrow at anything she showed me. And I guess that attitude got Asako pretty irritable after a while. So the two of us are just standing there staring at the lions in complete silence. When all of a sudden, this one big guy opens his mouth wide and tries to scare us off with a giant roar. And the next thing I know, Asako's bellowing, "Shut the hell up! Don't growl at me, asshole! I'll fucking kill you!" So yeah, she was the sort of person who'd get into a shouting contest with the king of the beasts and win. Woman was nuts.
すげえ。
I mean, her opponent was locked up in a cage. Anyone could have yelled at him if they wanted to. But when Asako screamed in his face, the animal actually flinched and just backed away slowly. You just should have seen the look on his face. I mean, in retrospect, Yuji is definitely biased in his memory of this. But you know, don't really want to tarnish his memory, right? It was probably just his childish imagination, making it more impressive than it seems to be. So there I was, gawking up at her with my eyes wide open, thinking, this woman's a complete lunatic, when I noticed I was smiling. Guess that was the moment when I started slowly regaining halfway normal emotions.
そのおかげで私もパパと出会えたんだから、私も感謝するべきだよね。
I kind of want to comment about what Yuji has been, preaching a lot about throughout this whole thing. Maybe not when he was fixing the bike, but when he's talking about Asako, right? This sort of sentimental value that Yuji holds in someone is not something that he says to anyone, really. And, you know, everyone is biased to some degree. And for Yuji, it's biased towards Asako, right? Well, I don't know about that. Who says meeting me was really a good thing? Hard to know for sure yet, don't you think?
そうかもしんないけどさ、でも少なくとも私の人生に一番大きく影響しているのってパパなんじゃないかな。
When you put it like that, I feel a little weight on my shoulders. Hey Asako, I feel the same way as Makina. I remember what you said to me just before you died. Sorry, Yuji. Ran my big mouth about teaching you how to live, but training you to do an ugly job in the shadows was the best I could manage. Maybe so, but I'm still grateful to you. Because even now, your words are what keeps me stumbling forward. Without intending to do so, I ended up on a fairly lengthy digression about my past. Among many mixed emotions, a small flush of embarrassment rose to the surface. In an effort to hide this, I abruptly declared break time over, then let Makina around to the shed out back. Although we always called it a shed, the building itself is pretty impressive. Not that different from the main cabin in size. It's a storehouse packed full of the tools and provisions necessary to live up here. I pull Makina along into the storehouse, seeking out weapons with which to confront the well-entrenched hordes of weeds that have flourished in the summer heat. Specifically, we retrieve a few hand scythes and spades, an old lawnmower, and a pair of straw hats hanging from nails on the wall. A good straw hat with a white brim is indispensable for weeding under the blazing sun. I put on the hat Asako used when she was alive, then dropped the smaller one I wore as a child onto Makina's head. It takes us another 5 minutes of climbing up the mountain to reach Asako's grave. Not far from the summit, her gravestone stands in a spot affording an unbroken view of the basin below. While the location may be good, the gravestone itself is hardly worthy of the name. It's just a huge, fairly decent-looking rock, picked at random from the woods, and half buried in the ground to keep it erect. In fact, the rough surface of the stone doesn't even have her name chiseled into it. It's a crud marker and nothing else. Even so, there's no doubt that Asako's remains are resting here. I was the one who took the ashes from the funeral home and buried them, and I was the one who raised the gravestone above them. When it came to religion, Asako's official position was no policy. She used to half joke about it. If I croak, just bury me wherever. I won't complain as long as you burn me up first. You can just poke a popsicle stick in the ground for a gravestone. Left with these half-assed instructions to work off after Asako's death, JB arranged for the cremation, then agreed to leave the rest entirely to me. I was at a complete loss for a while, but in the end, decided to make the mountain where we'd live together her final resting place. Nobody criticized that choice, remote and lonely as it might seem. Asako never had a family to begin with, and her best friend JB had no complaints about my decision. But since I was the one who chose this place, the duty of maintaining it also rests with me. Starting the engine of the lawnmower, I pushed up here from the shed. I have Makina hang back while I mow down the weeds in one sweep. When that's done, I switch to my spade and quietly begin digging away at their stubborn roots. Makina follows behind as I steadily work my way around the clearing. As I hack down the weeds and pull them out of the earth, she picks them up and collects them in heavy-duty trash bags. It's ridiculously hot, dirty, and monotonous work. Not a fun job in any way, shape, or form. But Makina holds out surprisingly well, not complaining even once as we fight our way through the overgrown wild grasses. We keep it up for maybe 2 hours, covered in sweat and grime. It feels even longer than that. By the time I finally sit down to stretch out my aching back, having fully liberated Asako's gravestone from the summer weeds that had nearly engulfed it, we filed 8 of our 70-liter trash bags to the brim. Filled. Well, guess that's good enough. I slowly raise my tired body up off the ground, then turn around to look Makina in her dirt-smeared face. Looking at the girl biting her lower lip with something uncertain in her eyes, I realize I've been hacking away at the weeds in total silence all this time. She may have been struggling along beside me in an attempt to be considerate. Slightly touched, I speak to her in the gentlest tone of voice I can manage. You're tired, right? Let's call it a day. Taking the towel I'd wrap around my neck for protection against the sun, I wipe the dirt from her face. Apparently understanding from the gesture that I finished this simple greeting to my departed friend, Makina's formerly tense face loosens into a dopey, ticklish smile. By the time the colors of evening fill the sky, we've put away our tools and return to the grave. I light a bundle of wooden chopsticks resting on a plate from the cabin's kitchen. A small welcoming fire for Asako's spirit. Since Asako left her drink, I also brought a can of beer from the fridge. Popping it open, I set it upside down on top of the gravestone and let the contents pour out. The thin, fluttering flame and its column of smoke are the signal beacon. The beer is the bait to make sure she doesn't hesitate to drop by. I close my eyes and press my hands together. A moment later, I can hear Makina do the same. Hey Asako, I'm still dragging my sorry hide around, trying to figure out why you kept me alive. No luck on that front. But even so, I think there are a few things I'm starting to understand, little by little. The things I can do, the things only I can do, the things I have to do, and the things I want to do. Tell me something, Asako. Was this how it was for you as well? Did it start off as just a whim, taking me in like that? Even so, did that small presence at your side end up becoming your reason to live? I'm starting to feel like I can understand now. Not that it's that complicated, really. You just saw a face one day, and somehow, you just vaguely knew it was the one thing in the world you needed to protect. Am I right? All of a sudden, you're telling yourself, now I get it. Maybe I've been living all this time so I could be here for this. To protect this one thing. This is Irisu Makina. I speak out loud to the wavering flame, introducing Makina to Asako's grave. See? Look at that. I found something I want to protect as well. Just as you had your doubts back then, I don't know yet if I'm making the right decisions. And I understand that things never go as smoothly as planned. Amane and I, currently playing the roles of mommy and daddy, probably do possess broader experience and knowledge than Makina. And we like to think that we understand her to some degree. But even so, I can't say with any confidence that the well-intentioned advice we give her is necessarily worthwhile. In separating the right from the wrong, there's only one decision that won't lead to regret. The one Makina makes herself. Right now, she says she wants to be a baker or a sniper. But whatever road she chooses to follow, the decision ultimately has to be up to her. You told me something about this once, right? If you want to choose the better path, listen carefully to the people who've walked the trail before you, as many of them as you can find. Fortunately enough, Makina is still very young. She'll have the chance to hear many people's thoughts, and I think she should actively seek them out. There's a limit to the amount of information any one human being can directly obtain. Don't get caught up with the things in front of your nose. Keep trying for the big picture perspective, and you won't go wrong too often. Right, Asako? Hey, Makina, want to say a little something to Asako as well? Still clasping her hands together and keeping her eyes shut, Makina quietly opens her mouth to speak.
パパを育ててくれてありがとう。
If it wasn't for you, I don't think Papa and I would have met, so thank you. Makina's softly mumbled words hit me harder than I expected. Asako, you moved on and left me behind. You did enough. You accomplished the job you were here to do. That's why you were allowed to die. I haven't earned that right yet, but I'll get there someday. I know I will. Think you can wait for me until then? The gravestone offers no reply to my silent question. I know perfectly well that this entire ceremony is nothing but a way for those left behind to find something like comfort. But I can still feel heat spreading behind my eyelids. Alright, I'm hungry. Wanna eat?
飯にしよう。
taking the plate in one hand as our small fire begins to gutter out. Then seizing Makina's small hand in the other, I set off down the rough trail leading back to the cabin. As twilight gives way to darkness, I twist open the propane stopcock, then leave the bathwater to heat as I begin preparing dinner. But of course, the fridge is a barren wasteland, and the vegetable garden out behind the shed has run wild with weeds. Our only viable provisions at the moment would be the stores of vacuum-packed instant rice and canned salmon piled up in the shed. Can't manage much other than gruel or fried rice with this.
あとキッチンの流しの下からパスタが出てきたのよさ。
Pasta? Ah, those are actually straight ramen noodles. Completely forgot we had that stuff. The packages Makina misidentified as pasta contain long strands of dried instant ramen noodles. Man, that event though, when when Yuji was actually talking to Asako's grave, kinda almost made me tear up too. Like, I don't have as much what is it? What do you call it? Man, sometimes words are hard, man. I want to say the word, but I can't put my finger on what the word is. Attachment, there we go. That was the word I was looking for. I don't have a lot of attachment to Asako, right? But when Yuji... I have an attachment to Yuji, right? So when Yuji feels something, I feel like I can actually somewhat perceive what he's feeling, or understand what he's feeling. Of course, not the same degree as what he's feeling. But hey, isn't that why we play these sort of games? Trying to understand something? Trying to understand people based on their writing? Based on their stories and whatnot? It's a lot easier to understand characters because you can see their inner monologues, their thoughts. It's a lot harder for actual people to be understood. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent. The packages Makina misidentified as pasta contain long strands of dried instant ramen noodles. We used to have these stashed all over the place, and the Hakata pork bones flavor in particular was one of Asako's favorite foods. After a few beers, she'd almost always devour a bowl of ramen heaping with vegetables. That brings me back. Asako used to make these for me all the time when she got drunk. Normally, you're supposed to boil these for 3 minutes, but Asako opted for a 60-second stir-fry in a pan. She'd focus mainly on eating the toppings, picking out a well-simmered noodle only every once in a while. Makina, you haven't tried these before, have you? Wanna have some? That said, we've got nothing in the way of toppings. Can't hope to imitate the Asako-style tower of fried bean sprouts and cabbage doused in vegetable oil. Fortunately enough, we do discover dry chives and roasted sesame seeds under the sink, if not red pickled ginger or strips of pork. It's a little more than plain ramen. But in combination with the fried rice, we've at least got a somewhat respectable looking meal on our table 15 minutes later. Rather than dinner, it does seem a little more like an oversized midnight snack. But perhaps owing to Amani's strong anti-instant ideological leanings, Makina seems to find some novelty value in the meal. She gobbles down the ramen in the blink of an eye, repeatedly yelping, "Delicious." By the time we finish with this somewhat rough supper, the hour hand of the clocks turned past 8. Returning to Mahama at this hour would be far too troublesome. And more than anything else, I'm concerned about the danger Makina might fall asleep in the back seat and slip right off. All things considered, it'd clearly be best to set up camp in the cabin for the night, and make our way back tomorrow morning. Her belly full, Makina's already begun to mumble incoherently on the verge of sleep. I haul her to her feet and unceremoniously strip off her clothes. Then launch her into the bath with a kick to the rear, tossing her dirty outfit into the beat-up old washer/dryer, just outside the bathroom door. You still awake in there? As I'm transferring her wet clothes to the dryer half of the machine, I call out to Makina for the 3rd time in the last 10 minutes. Last thing I need is the girl falling asleep in the tub and drowning herself. If I strain my ears, I can make out the sound of Makina splashing around washing her body, as well as her cheerful rendition of Tuna Fish Man's theme song, which mainly involves yowling "Maguruman" fighting for justice repeatedly in a jumble of English and Japanese. But seriously, is that ghastly human-tuna hybrid really supposed to be a superhero? Just seeing the character without any context, I'm pretty sure I would have pegged him as a hideous monster of the week, rather than the protagonist. But then again, the world's a place of constant change. Maybe the children of the world have acquired a taste for the avant-garde in their Saturday morning entertainment. Either way, it seems I still got a lot to learn. When Makina gets out of the bath, I wrap a white towel snugly around her head and twist it back and forth until her hair is dry. Then slip an old Oxford shirt from my days as a student in America onto her as a temporary substitute for her clothes. Naked except for a long-sleeved man's dress shirt several sizes too large, Makina begins loosely bending her waist back and forth, like a patient suffering amoebic dysentery. She then coos "ooh la la" in a high-pitched tone.
どう？私、セクシー？
Go to bed, Makina. Alright, wait there. I'll get a dictionary so you can take a careful look at the definition of the word sexy.
ちっとぐれえ脳殺されたふりしてくれても罰や当たんないと思うのよ。
Whatever my faults, I pride myself on my sincerity toward women. Before her bath, Makina's eyelids seem to have grown about as heavy as lead, but the hot water seems to have given her something of a second wind. It takes a little doing to get her crammed into bed. Although she nods off easily enough in the middle of the day, the girl also has a habit of refusing to fall asleep when you actually want her to. Normally, I could leave this to Amani, but that's obviously not an option today. Fortunately, no matter how much Makina grumbles about not being sleepy yet, when I forcibly scoop her up, she always ceases the struggle and wraps her arms around my neck. Basically, the girl's just scared of going to bed alone. After that, it's a simple matter of depositing her in bed and holding her hand for the 30 minutes or so until she falls asleep in earnest. When I lift Makina's small body in my arms, I'm struck by the scent of a familiar shampoo, mingling with the subtly feminine smell of her skin. It reminds me so strongly of Asako that I actually start a little in surprise.
ね、パパ、この前のお話の続きをして。
Which one was I telling you again?
パパがアメリカに住んでた頃の話で、友達と賭けをして180メートル先の標的に当てたってやつ。
What, again? I've already told you that one 3 times today.
もう一回聞きたいよ。あと、みんなでハイキングに行った時の社会15センチの話も聞きたい。
You really like this stuff for some reason, don't you? I'm not sure why she finds this sort of thing so interesting, but Makina's burning to hear my stories lately. The flower pot, the cat, and the severed head. His name was Ryback. Unlucky Zippo. Where's the telephone? Atu Island. From among this fairly well-varied assortment of anecdotes, there's one in particular that's clearly become the girl's favorite. Specifically, 180 meters from scrubbing the John. Right, so this was back when I was 14 years old, attending Uncle Sam's school in America. One day, I ended up making a bet with a classmate. I'd been distinguishing myself as a sniper at the time, and this particular classmate kept coming at me with this stupid line. What's with the rifle specialty? Isn't your name Uzi? Not only did I not fight back, I didn't show the slightest sign of irritation at the stupid joke, which eventually pissed my classmate off pretty badly. They ended up challenging me to a bet, hoping to knock me down a peg. The bet itself was about as simple as they come. I had to land a shot on a can of tomatoes from 200 yards. It sounded pretty damn pointless, so I refused to play along at first. But when my classmates offered to take over a week's worth of laundry duty if I won, my perspective on the matter changed. After managing to bargain my way up to 3 shots, I ultimately accepted the bet. But there was one major problem: the rifle I had to use. At the time, I didn't have authorization to use anything but the small bore and its .22 caliber rounds. So inevitably, the gun I was using for this bet was just such a .22 LR bolt action rifle. Normally speaking, you want to be firing a small bore rifle at 25 to 50 meters. The bullet itself can travel a good 1600, but the effective range normally maxes out at less than 100. Not only was I using this thing for a shot from 200 yards, or slightly over 182 meters, it was taking place outside where I had to deal with wind. Felt like pretty shitty odds, but on the second round, I managed a solid hit. Naturally, that meant I was the winner of our bet, but unfortunately, one of the instructors found out I'd taken the rifle without permission. So instead of a laundry-free week of leisure, I ended up ordered to scrub latrines until shit smelled like daisies. But apparently, the tomato can I shot is still enshrined in the school cafeteria, along with photographic evidence. I'm not trying to get all nostalgic about my wild youth or whatever, but I can't help smiling a little wryly. More at my inability to tell Makina a halfway decent bedtime story than anything else. But when I finally snapped back to reality, I realized that Makina's closed her eyes and began mumbling in her sleep. The lengthy trip and weeding in the sun must have tired her out after all. Feeling more than a little relieved, I quietly leave the cabin with my cell phone in hand. Although there is a tower relatively close by, the signal is not particularly good inside the cabin itself. I walk off a little ways away until the meter at the top of my screen displays 3 bars. Then call up the contact list and select Komine Sachi's name. After about 3 rings, she picks up the phone, and instantly, not even bothering to say hello, begins hurling questions at me.
風見さんですか？今どちらにおられるのです？先ほどから何度かお電話をさせていただいていたのですが。
Ah, sorry. The reception's not so great out here.
帰りが遅いので、皆さん心配しておられます。何時頃にお戻りになられますか？
Right, about that. We're actually still in Yamanashi. Makina's already fallen asleep, so for tonight, we're going to stay out here, and head back tomorrow around noon.
お泊まりですね。
Sorry for the trouble, but would you mind looking after Makina's crawfish and apple seedling while we're away?
お泊まりですか？
No. The signal is fine. I could hear you the first time. No need to repeat the question 20 decibels louder.
何？今お泊まりって言ったわよね。どういうこと？ホテルに泊まるの？そんでゴム使い切るまで帰ってこないってこと？そうなの？そうなんだ。けだもの、ユージ。あんたけだものよ。
See, now look what you've done. The noisy blonde's in full squawk.
すみません。少々お待ちいただけますか？
You were clearly doing that on purpose, Sachi. Damn you. Not a problem, I guess. Huh? Hey, Sachi, what was that sound?
すみません、風見さん。少しみちる様には落ち着きを取り戻していただきましたので、何も問題はありません。
I see. Sorry for the hassle.
それで、ザリガニの世話とリンゴの苗ですね。
That's right. We should be back tomorrow afternoon, so I doubt it'll be a problem. But I'd appreciate it if you just keep an eye on them.
かしこまりました。すべてはこの私にお任せください。風見さんは安心して焦らずゆっくりとお気をつけてお戻りください。
Thanks. I'll make sure to bring you some hotto and black honey rice cakes as a souvenir.
はい。それで、
What's up?
差し出がましいことを申すようで気が引けるのですが、否認だけはご注意をいただければと。
Not to worry. I picked up a 24-pack of rubbers on the way over. It's a joke. Don't clam up on me.
はい。25回目に気をつけてください。
Damn you, Sachi. I'm telling you it was a joke. I'm not going to do anything. In the first place, Makina's already asleep, remember?
寝ているところをズブリと。
You're really determined about this, aren't you?
冗談です。風見流ジョークですね。
I'm going to hang up now.
はい。では、お帰りを心からお待ちしております。おやすみなさいませ。
Night. What's going on with that girl? I feel like there's a lot more venom in her tongue lately, and her problem solving is definitely getting a little more on the violent side. Amane and Michiru seem to think it's entirely my fault, but I don't remember giving Sachi any orders to act like this. In fact, I make every effort to give her only strictly appropriate instructions. But come to think of it, there was that one incident the other day. I was telling Makina another of my stories, and paused to note the most efficient ways to help a panicked officer cadet regain presence of mind in a foxhole. Sachi, who'd been listening in, nodded with deep conviction and commented, "I see." In other words, blunt weapons are the best medicine for derangement. Surely unrelated, just another example of the female need to blame every problem on a man. This sort of unfounded generalizing is probably exactly the kind of thing that turns women against us. But it helps me regain the necessary composure to make my second call. I choose Amane's number and return the phone to my ear. A completely unfamiliar woman's voice answers the phone.
はーい、もしもし、誰？
Who the hell are you supposed to be? I pull the phone away from my ear and double-check the screen, but I'm definitely connected to the number marked Suo Amane.
うわ、こわ。なんや、めっさ怒ってはるけど、どないしょ。ああ、ちょっとやめてよ。それ私の携帯じゃない。返して。ごめんね、彼氏。今、アマネに返すから。もしもし？誰？ユージ？
Yeah, it's me. Who the hell was that woman?
ああ、ごめん。私今こっちの友達とカラオケに来ててさ、男の名前から電話がかかってきたからいたずらしたみたい。
You people aren't dabbling in hard drugs, are you?
するわけないでしょ。っていうか何？電話なんかしてきて珍しい。どうしたの？何？
Oh, sorry. I thought she was then.
もううるさい。静かにしてってば。
Amane, my friend, I prescribe a dose of blunt weaponry to the head.
は？何言ってんの？ちょっと待って。今部屋出るから。
On the other side of the line, I hear the sound of Amane opening a door, and a chorus of shrill voices hooting at her.
ごめん、お待たせ。どうしたの？急に私の声が聞きたくなったとか？
Yeah, that's right. I just had to hear that voice of yours, so I couldn't help giving you a call. Did I make a nuisance of myself?
そんなことないけど。
I see. Alright then, enough joking around. Let's get to the main topic. Here's the thing, Amane. Makina and I are currently in Yamanashi.
はい？なんで山梨？あ、そっか。お墓参り？
That's right. Came up with the idea pretty suddenly after we saw you off this morning. I borrowed your Bobataro for the trip.
あ、おば太郎ちゃんと動いた？
Yeah, you've been having trouble with the engine suddenly dying on you at random times, right? CDI is probably the issue.
CDI って言われても私にはわかんないけど。
You're riding a hot rod and you don't even know that much?
だって改造したの私じゃないもの。
Oh, I see.
あの状態でバイク屋さんから買ったのよ。
What kind of store would sell a ridiculous lowrider like that?
16の時に免許取ってなんかいいのないかなって近所のバイク屋さんに行ったらちょうどそのお店の店員さんが大型に乗り換えるって話でね、前に乗ってたやつを安く売ってくれるって言うから何も考えないで買っちゃったのよね。でもまあ原因が分かってよかったわ。なんか信号待ちしてる時とか突然ストンと止まっちゃって30分くらい冷まさないとエンジンがかかんないから困ってたのよ。
The wiring inside the CDI is probably swelling from the heat, disconnecting it temporarily.
なるほどね。修理したらいくらぐらいかかるのかな。
I'm not a motorcycle mechanic. I can't tell you that much.
いいわ。ボバ太郎は貸してあげるから気をつけて乗るのよ。
Yeah, understood. I won't do anything stupid.
マキナはどうしてるの？ちゃんとご飯食べてる？
Well, let's see. For lunch, we had cinnamon rolls and pumpkin bread Makina baked. Dinner was ramen and fried rice.
ちょっと全然野菜を食べてないじゃない。約束と違うじゃないのよ。
Sorry, I'll make sure to feed her something green tomorrow.
きっとよ。なんか不安だな。は
朝昼晩とちゃんと食べさせて、夜の8時以降は何も食べさせちゃダメよ。
What? Is she some kind of magical gremlin? Well, whatever. I'll be careful. If anything does come up, you'll be the first to know.
わかった。それじゃあ気をつけて帰るのよ。マキナに怪我させないでね。
Understood. Alright then. Good night.
おやすみ。ちゃんと私の夢を見るのよ。
Spare me. I get enough lectures in my waking hours. For some reason, my dreams are always nightmares. Alright then, that just leaves... I scroll down to JB's name on my phone's contact list, then press the call button. I have to say though, I'm a man of many colors. The trip itinerary I submitted to JB earlier didn't include any reference to staying the night away from my post. Of course, my employer is probably aware that I'm still in Yamanashi. I'd be very surprised if they hadn't been tracking the GPS on my other cell phone this entire time. Still, that doesn't mean I can just get away with completely blowing off the formalities. Even if I do get in touch, it's easy to picture that shaggy-headed blonde griping and scolding at me again. But if I take the initiative to call instead of making her do it, the voltage of her lightning bolt should increase slightly.
ただいま電話に出ることができません。ピーという発信音の後にお名前とご用件をお話しください。
What's this? You burning the midnight oil over there? Kazami, Yuji, and Irisu Makina. Status normal. My current location is Sasako's cabin in Yamanashi. Scheduled return to post by 1200 hours tomorrow. And a message. After recording this extremely concise summary of the necessary information, I'm just on the verge of hanging up when I reflexively hesitate. After a moment's pause, I return the receiver to my mouth once more. Night, Julia. The hour being what it is, recording a little extra in the way of pleasantries shouldn't cause any issues. My message complete, I hang up and finally snap the phone shut. As I slide the cell phone back into my pocket, a sigh spills unprompted out of my mouth. In the isolated mountain night, the only sounds are the rustling of trees in the wind and the chirping of insects reveling in summer. I don't mind not hearing people or their machines in the least, but the bugs are fairly noisy in their own right. That said, it just makes you feel anxious when things get too quiet. Human beings are pretty hard to please. Hearing nothing but the sounds you make yourself is a genuinely terrifying thing. Well, depends. Nowadays with noise-canceling headphones and all that, you don't really... it's something that you can actually train for the most part. That used to be the case, Yuji, but I don't know. Nowadays, I think that's something that you can actually train. There was a time years ago when I woke up half buried under a pile of soil and sand. Better still, I couldn't remember how it come to be there. I must have stayed there for a good 3 minutes before finally recalling that a field artillery shell had landed nearby. Pushed away violently by the man behind me, I'd fallen roughly into my foxhole as dirt rained down. When I crawled up out of the hole, I noticed that my eardrums were malfunctioning badly. I couldn't hear a thing other than a high-pitched ringing sound. That's called tinnitus, Yuji. It was the middle of the night, so my field of vision was just as poor. The small slivers of moonlight trickling through the trees above weren't enough to make any movement around me. The fear that had been swirling around my gut became a cold dread creeping slowly up my spine. It felt like I might be the only person on Earth, as if I'd been left behind on a dead and empty husk of a world. The night can be very dark sometimes. When I'm facing it alone, I always remember that moment. Asako. Looking up into the sky, I hear her name slip out of my mouth. Just how long am I planning to drag her memory around like a ball and chain? It's not like Asako wanted that herself. She told me flat out, didn't she? If I die, forget about me within a year. It's been a year and a half. I should have forgotten her completely by now. I promised I would. But it's hard, Asako. Being alone. Stop sniveling and grow a pair. You have someone to protect yourself now, don't you? I can almost hear the words, feel the slap upside the head. And she's no longer here to deliver them. Alright, enough melancholy. I don't know if I'm even pronouncing that correctly again. But that is the end of the episode. This one was actually a lot longer than I thought. I was gonna stop after we reach back to the cabin, but I say I might as well go a bit longer. And it's kind of weird to jump in again after, you know, like it's not really a cliffhanger because we already know what's gonna happen, but it's just kind of a weird transition, right, between the episodes. What I like about the recordings or the videos that I make is that I make sure to always progress on a steady pace, and I don't really do it like too fast or too slow. At least I hope I'm not doing it too fast or too slow. But alright, with that, I'm gonna end the episode right here. I think Machina's route is gonna end in about 3 more episodes or 2 more episodes. I'm gonna say 3. So I think each heroine's episode is going to be about 6 to 7 episodes. So after this one, there's going to be Amane, Sachi, Michiru, and Yumiko. I think Machina is one of the longer ones though. Machina and Amane has one of the longer routes. So if Machina is, say, 7 episodes, I think Sachi is going to be about 5 episodes. Michiru 5 episodes. Yumiko is also about 5 episodes. But we'll see. But alright. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Give it a like if you like it. Subscribe if you want some more of this. And I'll see you next time. Peace out.